Chapter 79. Half a month later, in the Blackfield sub-city to the north of Eastern Fence Nation. Luo Qingtong wore a black robe and a cloak that covered most of her face, only revealing a devilish demon mask. She appeared on the outskirts of this city of darkness. This is the Blackfield sub-city. The Blackfield was an extremely special existence within the true Spill continent. It existed in every major country, but it was also independent of them. Every country, whether it was a high-class country, a low-class country, or even a super country like the Tianyu Empire, had its own sub-city. Within the Blackfield, you could do anything you wanted. You could buy anything you wanted. You could even assassinate anyone you wanted. As long as it was a transaction, as long as you could pay the price, there was nothing that the Blackfield didn't dare to do. This was a land of darkness. It was also called the Dark Sanctuary by the cultivators of the true Spill continent. Even the four holy dynasties had no way to deal with it. No one knew who the mastermind behind the Blackfield was. They only knew that his title was Dark, and that he called himself Dark Lord. Within the Blackfield, he was the sole ruler and law. To be able to make the various holy dynasties helpless, and even allow such a completely independent city to appear within their own territory, this Dark Lord's strength was likely to reach the heavens and earth. And now, Luo Qingtong wanted to enter this Blackfield sub-city located within the Eastern Fence Nation. She wanted to find the antidote materials that she needed. After returning from the 9 Magus Mountains without any success, she knew that if she wanted to find the antidote materials she needed, she could only do so in a place like the Blackfield that didn't fear the various holy dynasties and had tentacles that covered the entire continent. But the Blackfield wasn't so easy to enter. Shwa! Luo Qingtong's figure flew up, her sleeves fluttering in the wind. She was like a vigorous hawk as she flew towards the massive main city in front of her. Walala! Outside the Blackfield sub-city, a massive moat appeared in Luo Qingtong's line of sight. This moat was filled with white bones. Some of the cultivators' corpses hadn't been completely corroded yet. They floated along with the waves of the moat. Countless weapons and treasures floated in the moat, but no one dared to go down and pick them up. This moat was also known as the Yellow Spring Path. As long as one fell into it, even a Martial King-level powerhouse would be corroded in a second, turning into one of the skeletons. It was said that the Blackfield sub-city had countless cities. The power of the moat was closely related to the country it. This was a black domain city of the Eastern Fence Nation. The moat surrounding the city was only strong enough to corrode Martial Kings. This showed how terrifying Blackfield's strength was. In order to enter the Blackfield, one must have the strength to pass through the Yellow Springs Path. At this moment, there were only bare chains on the Yellow Springs Path. There was nothing on the chain that one could lean on. When the wind blew, the chains swung violently and clanged against each other from time to time. When Luo Qingtong reached the shore, she heard a series of miserable screams. Someone was unable to stabilize himself and fell into the Yellow Spring. In an instant, he was submerged by the corrosive river water. To pass through the Yellow Springs Path, one had to rely on strength, luck, and vision. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. She swept a glance at Huang Quan Dao and was about to get up. Chapter 80. Rumble. A huge gust of wind swept over Luo Qingtong's head from behind. At the same time, a series of exclamations followed. A flying ship. Wow! It's so big. I wonder what grade of magic treasure it is. It's so powerful. Exclamations entered her ears. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked up at the sky. She saw a huge, gorgeous spirit ship sweeping over her head. As the spirit ship flew, it swept up huge waves and each gust of wind had a great impact. The people waiting on the shore to cross the Yellow Spring Path were all pushed away by the huge spirit ship's waves. Only Luo Qingtong stood motionless on the spot. Her figure swayed slightly, and the gust of wind that rushed towards her was all neutralized by her. The spirit ship stirred up huge waves as it swept over the Yellow Spring Path and directly entered the Blackfield city ahead. When the spirit ship approached, the huge city in the darkness completely opened the city gates and welcomed it in. Sigh. It's so good to have a black field token. An envious voice came from the side. That's right. Look at the grade of this spirit ship, it's at least an Earth-grade spiritual weapon. Even a martial Grand Emperor expert might not be able to have it. I wonder what kind of person is sitting in it. Sigh. It's so good to have power. Let's go. Let's also enter the Black Field and have a good adventure. It's said that the people in the Black Field don't care about your background. As long as you have the corresponding power, they will not hesitate to take you in. Hearing the conversation around her, Luo Qingtong realized that there was such a thing as a Black Field token in the Black Field City. With a Black Field token, one could directly enter the Black Field City without going through the Yellow Spring Path outside. No wonder the people in the spirit ship didn't need to go through the Yellow Spring Path. In that case, this Black Field token was really a good thing. With it, it wouldn't be so troublesome to enter and exit the Black Field in the future. That spirit boat was not bad either. He wondered where he had bought it. Luo Qingtong knew that this kind of spirit boat was specially used to transport troops from various countries. At the same time, it was also the exclusive vehicle for the nobles and experts of various countries. It looked really cool. In Luo Qingtong's previous life, everything was the best in the 24th century. She didn't even know how many luxurious cars she owned. At this moment, looking at the spirit boat, her heart itched again. If there's a chance, I'll get one. This way, it would be much more convenient to travel. However, this kind of aerial spirit boat was generally forbidden in the military. If one wanted to own it, strength alone was not enough. They also needed to have a certain status. Otherwise, the various countries will not allow you to pass through. In fact, I won't even let you buy it. He wondered if the Black Field medallion had such a privilege. If there was, Luo Qingtong would definitely get her hands on one. Whoosh! Her figure swept forward. After the spirit boat passed through, she directly rushed towards the moat in front of her. With a few leaps, under the guidance of her eyes, she easily passed through the chains that even Martial King experts had to be on guard. She was not affected by the wind and waves of the river after the spirit boat passed through. Looking at her figure, waves of exclamations sounded behind her again. Isn't this black-robed person too powerful? She passed through the Yellow Spring Path so easily. When did the Yellow Spring Path outside the Black Field City become so easy to pass through? Could it be the benefit of passing through the spirit boat? Some people thought so and also rushed up. However, halfway through, they screamed and fell down. At this moment, they finally understood that it wasn't that the Yellow Spring Path had become easy to pass, but that Luo Qingtong was too powerful. Looking at Luo Qingtong's movements, no one would have thought that she was only a martial master. Furthermore, she had just broken through. Chapter 81. Senior brother, teacher is really amazing. This spirit boat really travels thousands of miles in a day. We came from the Lifeng country in the west and arrived at the Black Field sub-city of the Eastern Fence country in just a few hours. And we don't need to go through the Yellow Spring Path. Those people from the Black Field even saluted us. Haha. No matter which Black Field city we went to, the people there were very arrogant. This Black Field token is really useful. Senior brother, teacher is really good to you. A group of people got off the spirit boat and walked into the city while talking and laughing, looking very excited. This group of people were the new students of the Sacred Academy who came out with Yu Wenma to do things. Hearing their praise and envy, Yu Wenma felt good in his heart, but on the surface, he smiled faintly. When all of you junior brothers become stronger, teacher will also think highly of you. Yu Wenma's words were very appropriate, and everyone felt very comfortable in their hearts. They smiled and complimented each other. By then, senior brother will definitely be even more powerful. Not everyone can be accepted as teacher's last disciple after entering the Sacred Academy. Yes, we are definitely not as good as senior brother. But speaking of which, this Black Field token is really rare. I heard that teacher only coincidentally helped the people of the Black Field to get this lowest level Black Field token of the Black Field by chance. If it's a higher level silver or gold Black Field token, you will have even greater authority in the Black Field city. Yes. I heard that if it's a platinum Black Field token, you can freely mobilize the power of any Black Field city other than the Black Field main city. Not only that, you can go to any Black Field city in the future and be given a grand welcome. Even the city lord will have to personally welcome you. As the group was talking, they suddenly heard a loud rumbling sound outside. Then, above the entire Black Field city, the forbidden sky barrier opened and the main city flew up. At the same time, the aura of countless powerhouses flew up from every corner of the Black Field city. Among them, there were both martial artists and soul masters. What was different about them was that they were all wearing clothes that only Black Field residents would wear, and their bodies were decorated with the Black Field's totem. The aura of the person at the front was completely different from the others. Astonishingly, it was much higher. This is Black Field's Castellan? Countless people were alarmed by this commotion. When they looked up and saw this scene in the sky, their eyes instantly widened. It was actually the Black Field city lord himself. Move out of the city. Could it be that the owner of the legendary platinum token had come to visit? No, that's not right. Someone pointed at the slowly opening gates around the main city in shock. Open all 9 gates. It was Ming Zun. The supreme of the Black Field is here. While everyone was still in shock, an extremely beautiful spirit boat suddenly appeared in the sky. Previously, Yu Wenma and the others had also arrived on a spirit boat, causing everyone to exclaim in surprise. However, at this moment, even the most blind person had to admit that compared to this spirit boat, Yu Wenma and the other spirit boat was a pile of scrap metal. It was a good thing that they had already parked their spirit boats. Otherwise, they would have been completely crushed by this gorgeous spirit boat that was both elegant and murderous, sharp and magnificent. As that spirit boat appeared, the entire Black Field sub-city was in an uproar. Chapter 82. In the spiritual boat, Bei Qing's face twitched when he felt the burning gaze from below almost penetrating the boat and stripping them naked. Master, I didn't do it on purpose. He looked at the man sitting on the throne in the middle of the spiritual boat with a sad face. He didn't know how he had touched the light switch. Yi Qianxian looked at him coldly. Then, he flicked his sleeves and flew out of the flying boat. Go to the heavenly punishment court to receive your punishment when you return. Yes, master. Master. Bei Qing hurriedly responded and followed him. A group of people flew out of the flying boat. As for the huge, luxurious flying boat, it also disappeared in an instant. Sumeru Space. That flying boat actually carried the legendary Sumeru Space. No wonder he is Ming Zun. What a big deal. It is said that only the royal family of the sacred dynasty has such a treasure inheritance with Sumeru Space. Ming Zun has it too. And it is a spiritual flying boat. Ming Zun is probably the only person in the world who has such a peerless flying boat with Sumeru Space. Luo Qingtong heard the exclamations around her and looked up at the sky. Unfortunately, Ming Zun's figure flashed in the air and disappeared without a trace. Everyone stared with their eyes wide open. They could only see a few rays of light. They couldn't even see what the person on the flying boat looked like, whether he was round or flat. Luo Qingtong opened her eyes and could only see 3 figures. A silver-clothed figure with black hair flashed in front of her. In an instant, it disappeared from her field of vision. The other 2 figures, one in green and one in blue, were on his left and right. They should be Ming Zun's guards. The people in this world were really perverted. Luo Qingtong looked on gloomily as they disappeared from her sight. She tried her best to see the face of Ming Zun, but just like the man from Nine Magi Mountain, she could only see a blurry silhouette. Were all powerful people like this? Did they like to pretend to be mysterious? It was fine if they were ugly, but the man from Nine Magi Mountain was so handsome, but he wanted to hide it. Beauty should be shown in front of people to benefit society. Just as Luo Qingtong was thinking about this, she suddenly felt a sharp gaze coming from the sky. It was in the direction where Underworld Zun had disappeared. Her heart suddenly tightened, and she quickly lowered her head. That gaze swept across her surroundings and then retracted in an instant. Yi Qianxian was full of doubts. He had clearly felt that someone was spying on him, but when he looked carefully, there was nothing. Was it his imagination? But why did it feel so similar to that woman? Could it be that she was also in this Blackfield sub-city? If that was the case, then it wouldn't have been a waste of time for him to come here personally. Schwa. The figures of Yi Qianxian and the others completely disappeared from the sky. The experts in the Blackfield sub-city also descended from the sky. Luo Qingtong patted her chest. Oh my God, I was almost discovered. Other than that man from Nine Magi Mountain, this was the second person that Luo Qingtong couldn't see through. Should she say that he was indeed worthy of being called the Supreme of the Blackfield? That man from Nine Magi Mountain was the strongest man that Luo Qingtong had ever seen. More than half of his meridians were broken, but he was still able to beat the adult divine connecting beast to the point that it couldn't even retaliate. This Ming Zun was actually on par with him. No wonder the people from the four great sacred dynasties were helpless against him, and he was able to establish such a huge dark force like the Black Field. Luo Qingtong patted her chest as she continued to walk into the city. In the Blackfield sub-city headquarters, in the city lord's residence, Yi Qianxian landed and looked at the city lord standing respectfully at the side. Chapter 83. My lord, I've searched through hundreds of high-class countries and thousands of middle-class countries around Dongli country, but I didn't find the woman you're talking about, the governor of the Blackfield sub-city hurriedly replied when he heard Yi Qianxian's question. You didn't find her? Yi Qianxian narrowed his eyes. The hazy mist covering his face instantly dispersed, revealing a face wrapped in a dark golden mask. The mask covered most of his face, leaving only a little bit of his smooth chin and a pair of thin lips. Under the mask, Yi Qianxian's eyes turned cold. You've checked everything? My lord, we've checked everything. What about the Tianyu Empire? You didn't find her either? The Tianyu Empire hasn't sent any news yet, but according to their feedback, they shouldn't have found her either. Then let's investigate further. Expand the scope. I must find her. Yi Qianxian's voice was cold. He had personally come to this place for Luo Qingtong. He didn't expect that he couldn't find that woman even with the Blackfield's intelligence network. Who exactly was she? Also, filter through all the information of those who entered Dongli country before and after the mutation on the Nine Magi Mountain. He didn't believe that he couldn't find that woman. Yes. The governor of the Blackfield sub-city looked bitter. No matter how low-class Dongli country was, it was still a country. There were more than tens of thousands of people entering and exiting the country every day. Not to mention how many people entered and exited the Nine Magi Mountain before and after the mutation. He thought about how much work he had to do just to find a woman whose name and appearance he didn't even know. He only knew that she was blind but could see. Her cultivation level was low but she was very strong. She might even be a blacksmith or a spiritual array master. The governor of the Blackfield sub-city felt that this wasn't very reliable. My lord, didn't you notice that there were many contradictions in this information? How could someone be blind and still be able to see? Her cultivation level was low but she was very strong. She might even be a spiritual array master. The city lord of the Blackfield city went out with a bitter face. When Bei Qing and Feng Yu saw this, they looked at Yi Qianxian and asked, Master, you haven't found him yet? No. Yi Qianxian frowned. With that woman's ability, he thought it would be easy to find her. She didn't expect that there was no news of her in the high-ranking countries. Could it be that he was wrong? She might not be from the Empire of Qin. Were they from other sacred dynasties? Let's look for her again. The woman you mentioned is so weak. She might have been buried in a high-class country or above. Or perhaps it was deliberately hidden by someone. Master, didn't you say that someone poisoned her with poison? That was not a poison that an ordinary person could get their hands on. Her news might have been intentionally covered up by someone. Feng Yu analyzed. Yes. Master, let's keep looking. We will definitely find her. But Master, do you really feel that your meridians are getting better? Bei Qing asked. She couldn't believe it. They were also very worried about their master's internal injuries. However, they couldn't do anything about it since they were born with it. All these years, they had been trying their best to find a way to cure their master's injuries. It was the same when their master went to the Nine Magi Mountain alone in Dongli country. However, they did not expect that the information they had painstakingly gathered was completely useless. A young girl that their master had met by chance had actually alleviated the injuries in his body. Chapter 84. It's indeed better, although it's not obvious. But, it's definitely better. Yi Qianren was sitting on the main seat in the hall. She raised her hand and rubbed the armrest. Suddenly, she released the aura she had been restraining. Boom! Feng Yu and Bei Qing were forced to take a few steps back by the aura released by Yi Qianxian. This. The two of them were shocked. Feng Yu's eyes lit up and she exclaimed, Master. The aura you're releasing. It's much stronger than before, right? Am I right? Yi Qianren narrowed her eyes at them. After my main meridians were repaired, my body's ability to withstand power has increased. If it was before, my meridians would have been broken by now. Yi Qianxian's voice was calm as he looked into the distance. Not only that, my meridians haven't been injured for the past half a month. Although I don't know how long they can last, there's no doubt that they're longer than before. Master, don't worry. We'll definitely find her. Even if we have to kidnap her, we'll kidnap her and bring her to you. Bei Qing couldn't hold herself back anymore. It's not just a little bit better. It's much better than before. Others might not know, but they, who served their master, knew that the interval between their master's meridians breaking was getting shorter and shorter. His meridian's ability to withstand power was also getting weaker and weaker. Their master hadn't used his full strength in a long time. They were more anxious than anyone else as they watched their master's body getting weaker and weaker day by day. Now that there was someone who could repair their master's meridians and improve his condition, they had to find this person even if they had to dig 3 feet into the ground. Yi Qianxian replied in a low voice. Then, he thought of Luo Qingtong's crafty and evil character and paused for a moment. Then, he ordered, this woman is as cunning as a fox. You may not be able to deal with her. Once you find her, just inform me. Yi Qianxian felt uncomfortable when he thought of how Luo Qingtong might deal with Bei Qing and Feng Yu the same way she dealt with him. Pass down this order. After finding her, no one is allowed to touch her. That woman, I will personally capture her. Yes. Although they didn't think that Luo Qingtong, a mere martial mentor, could pose any threat to them. Even if she was 100 times stronger, she might not be a match for them. However, Bei Qing and Feng Yu naturally complied with their master's order. Thinking about it, it was indeed more convenient for the master to make a move. What if the subordinates were careless and killed someone? Bei Qing thought carelessly. Feng Yu, on the other hand, seemed to have understood something as he looked at his master with a subtle gaze. He thought of the bite mark on his master's lips. Master, he couldn't be tempted, right? Just like Bei Qing, Feng Yu didn't believe that someone could escape from her master's clutches again and still dare to do such a disgraceful thing. It couldn't be that master, he deliberately condoned it, right? The more she thought about it, the more complicated her mood became. He didn't know that his master had such an interest. Yi Qianxian didn't know what his subordinates were thinking at all. He got another secret prescription this time, but he didn't know whether it was useful for his injury. Fortunately, his meridians were stronger now, so he could give it a try. By the way, he was waiting for news from the branch city of the Tianyu Empire. Chapter 85. This auction house was the most bustling and lively place in the Black Field. The moment Luo Qingtong entered, she was eagerly received. "Hello, guest, may I know what you need?" The auction house's staff warmly welcomed her. In the spacious hall, there were over 100 staff like this. "I want to sell medicine." Luo Qingtong's voice had undergone a special voice change. Her low and hoarse voice revealed a unique vicissitudes of life. Her exposed hands had also been specially modified. On her loose skin, the veins were exposed, revealing a kind of twilight old age. Luo Qingtong did not intend to reveal her identity when she came to the Black Field this time. Therefore, she purposely created a mysterious old man. In this way, others would not doubt her ability and the Ming Zun behind the scenes would not be able to find out her true identity. Luo Qingtong was fully aware of how coveted her eye technique was. She would not easily reveal her true identity in front of others. And that Ming Zun's strength was so valiant and powerful. She had to guard against him. Sell medicine? When the staff heard this, he did not dare to be negligent. "I wonder what medicine old Mr. wants to sell. Is it medicinal herbs or medicinal liquid? Ask your manager to come over. You can't make the decision." Luo Qingtong's voice was faint. That faint voice, after being modified by her hoarse voice, instantly raised her image infinitely. Immediately, the waiter treated her as a hidden expert and invited her to a private room. "Old mister, please wait a moment. I will immediately ask the manager to come over." That staff said as he ran out like a wisp of smoke. When he was about to leave, he almost stumbled and fell. Medicinal liquid. This old man was here to sell medicinal liquid. Who knows, he might be a respected alchemist. Although he did not see the alchemist badge of the other party, but generally, this kind of alchemist was eccentric and arrogant. It was normal for him to not like to show his alchemist badge in front of others. Thinking of this, the worker ran even faster. After a while, a steward pushed open the door to Luo Qingtong's private room. "I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, sir." The steward's tone was very respectful and courteous. "May I know what kind of medicinal liquid you're selling?" Rank. Xianyuan heart fluid. Luo Qingtong's voice was faint. The medicinal liquid she was selling was extracted from the holy healing spring that Yi Qianxian had been soaking in. Although Lu Qingtong couldn't find a suitable substitute for most of the herbs, she still managed to refine the corresponding medicinal liquid according to the medicinal properties of a small portion of the herbs and her own concoction. Although the effect was definitely not as good as the man's healing liquid, it was enough for Luo Qingtong. She didn't know what the grade of this medicinal liquid was. Luo Qingtong didn't know much about this different world's alchemist profession. After all, the original owner didn't have these memories in her mind. She could only rely on herself to slowly explore. The effect of this medicinal liquid is on meridian injuries. As long as it's a meridian injury, no matter how serious it is, as long as it's taken, it will immediately heal. It can be used to counteract the backlash of using a forbidden technique. After taking it, it's equivalent to having an extra life. Even in a situation where the strength is similar, it can kill the enemy. Chapter 86. Black Origin Heart Medicinal Liquid. It was actually a medicinal liquid used to treat meridian injuries. And from the other party's words, this medicinal liquid's grade was not low. One had to know that medicinal liquids used to treat meridian injuries were very rare. Meridians were related to a cultivator's cultivation. Once the meridians were damaged, the cultivator's strength would be greatly reduced. What's more, the cultivator's realm would continuously drop, becoming a cripple. Especially when using forbidden techniques, although it could increase one's strength by 1-fold or even more than 10 times in a short period of time, the backlash after using it was extremely serious. An overly strong burst of power would tear the cultivator's meridians. How many people had used forbidden techniques in desperate situations, and their strength had been greatly reduced? And with Luo Qingtong's medicinal liquid, what were they afraid of? This was not just a life. This was an excellent trump card. With it, cultivators could even challenge those of a higher cultivation level at will, without fear of any repercussions. This portion of medicinal liquid was simply too precious. The steward did not dare to make a decision and hurriedly reported the matter to the head steward. Oh. A medicinal liquid specially used to treat meridian injuries? When the head steward heard this, he immediately put down the matter at hand and hurried over. At the same time, there was also an earth stage alchemist from the black market auction house. These alchemists were the standard of the black field auction house. This was also the reason why people flocked to the black field like a flock of ducks. The status of an earth stage alchemist was very honorable. Even in the main cities of the four great sacred dynasties, they were the target of countless people's pursuit. But in the black field, every black field auction house had such an earth stage alchemist overseeing it. While identifying medicinal liquids, they also provided alchemy services for the people in the black field auction house. In the whole world, only the black field had such a big hand. Even the four great sacred dynasties could not compare. The earth stage alchemist from the black field auction house had a very arrogant expression. He didn't believe that a small and remote country like Eastern Fence Country would have such a powerful figure coming to sell medicinal liquid. Even if the other party's medicinal liquid really had the effect of healing meridian injuries, he was afraid that it was only a low-level human-level medicinal liquid. At most, it could only benefit low-level cultivators below the Martial King level. There was no need for him to do anything. However, according to the Blackfield's rules, as long as there was an effective and precious liquid for sale, they had to sell it. That earth-tier alchemist was unable to disobey the Blackfield's rules and could only come forward with a cold face and the chief steward. "You're the one who wants to sell the medicinal liquid? Hand it over." His face was filled with impatience. This earth-tier alchemist had just received an order from above to refine medicine for the High Lord. This was a rare opportunity to make a great leap forward, so he didn't want to bother with other miscellaneous matters. Towards Luo Qingtong, who interrupted her refining, she also didn't have the slightest good face. "Stop acting all mysterious." Looking at Luo Qingtong's attire, he raised his hand and took the liquid. With a sneer, he began to identify the liquid. However, as soon as he opened the bottle, his expression suddenly changed. This was an earth-tier medicinal liquid? A strong medicinal power instantly spread out in front of him. The earth-tier alchemist's hands trembled fiercely, and he almost dropped the bottle in his hands. He hurriedly grabbed it and carefully used his mental power to identify the medicinal power within. The more he identified it, the more his hands trembled. This was not an ordinary earth-tier medicinal liquid. It was a top-grade earth-tier medicinal liquid. No, it was a quasi-heaven-tier medicinal liquid. Heavens! Chapter 87. As an earth-rank alchemist, Master Lu did not expect that there was actually someone who could achieve perfect separation when refining medicinal liquids. Inside this set of medicinal liquid, there was actually no impurities at all. This already completely exceeded his imagination. This set of medicinal liquid already surpassed the level of earth-rank medicinal liquids, reaching the level of quasi-heaven rank. Although its essence was still an earth-rank medicinal liquid, the medicinal strength and effects in reality completely surpassed this level. It was sufficient to compare with ordinary heaven-rank medicinal liquids. Such a medicinal liquid, even heavenly alchemists who were highly revered by the world and revered by them, these alchemists, might not be able to refine it too. This must be a transcendent grade medicinal liquid that the alchemist himself could only possibly refine under a lucky coincidence, his spirit entering heaven and earth, entering a kind of profound realm. Bang! 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 Master Lu's hand held the porcelain bottle, his heart beating rapidly. He could tell that the person who refined this medicinal liquid was not a true alchemist. Because in this medicinal liquid, many refining methods that alchemists should have grasped, the other party did not use them. But the other party was abnormally proficient and exquisite regarding the extraction and refinement of the medicinal liquid. This kind of exquisiteness even surpassed the level of heavenly alchemists that he had seen before. reaching a kind of realm that people found hard to imagine. This was a figure with unusual talent, a self-taught genius. Master Lu guessed that the other party's alchemy level was not high. It was just that under a lucky coincidence, he successfully refined this bottle of medicinal liquid. In the alchemist circle, there was a legend called extreme realm circulating. It was said that when alchemists were fully focused and their spirit entered heaven and earth, they would obtain the blessing of heaven and earth destiny. At that time, alchemists refining medicine was akin to having divine assistance. They could easily refine transcendent-grade medicinal liquids and medicinal pills that surpassed their own grade. Under this kind of situation, if alchemists could advance, they could instantly directly raise their own alchemy level to the peak of the next level. But this kind of realm could be encountered by chance and not sought. They had only heard before and had never witnessed it before. Could it be that this old man entered that kind of extreme realm state under such a lucky coincidence, and that was how he was able to refine such a medicinal liquid? Thinking, Master Lu's heart suddenly pounded rapidly. If this was the case, this bottle of transcendent-grade medicinal liquid, he might be able to take it for himself? Master Lu knew the preciousness of transcendent-grade medicinal liquids. Such a bottle of transcendent-grade medicinal liquid, even a heavenly alchemist might not be able to refine it. More importantly, this bottle of medicinal liquid was used to treat meridian injuries. He thought of the prescription that the High Lord had asked him to refine. It was also used to treat meridian injuries. If he could present this bottle of supreme-grade medicinal liquid to the Honorable Lord, he would be able to enjoy endless benefits in the future. Thinking of this, Master Lu's heart beat even faster. He clenched the porcelain bottle in his hand and instantly made a decision in his heart. The grade of this medicinal liquid seems to be pretty good. Earth rank high level. When he said that, he specially looked at Luo Qingtong's expression. Seeing that she did not have any reaction to the grade he mentioned, he was instantly even more certain of his guess. This person was indeed able to refine this bottle of medicinal liquid by chance. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so clueless about the grade of this medicinal liquid. As he thought about it, he was pleasantly surprised and couldn't wait any longer. However, as for what kind of medicinal effect it is, I still need to examine it carefully. You guys wait here for a while. As Master Lu spoke, he took the bottle of medicinal liquid and walked out. Chapter 88. Master Lu came back very quickly. After a short while, he took the medicinal liquid and returned to the private room. Guest, here's your medicinal liquid. He handed the porcelain bottle in his hand to Luo Qingtong. As soon as the porcelain bottle was in her hand, Luo Qingtong's eyebrows rose. I'm very sorry, guest. The medicinal effect that you said is different from the actual effect. This bottle of medicinal liquid is indeed a high-grade earth step medicinal liquid. It also has a certain healing effect on the meridians, but it's not as heaven-defying as you said. It also doesn't have much effect on the counterattack of the forbidden technique. It can only have a certain moderating and prolonging effect. Master Lu looked at Luo Qingtong with a face full of regret. I don't know where guest got this medicinal liquid formula, but it's a pity that you should have been cheated. However, this bottle of earth step medicinal liquid is also very valuable. It's up to you to decide how to choose. Luo Qingtong looked at him with a smile that wasn't a smile. You're saying that I've been cheated? The medicinal liquid that I brought doesn't match the actual effect that I said? Yes. Master Lu said seriously, my appraisal can't be wrong. If guest doesn't believe me, you can find another pharmacist to appraise it. However, I dare to guarantee that the result will absolutely not be any different. Of course, there wouldn't be any difference because the medicinal liquid inside had already been replaced by him. Luo Qingtong didn't need to open the porcelain bottle to know that the medicinal liquid inside had completely changed. The medicinal liquid that she refined was replaced by another person. What appeared in the porcelain bottle was another high-grade earth step medicinal liquid. It was the medicinal liquid that this earth step pharmacist was talking about. Interesting. Someone actually dared to covet her things. Luo Qingtong's face slowly blossomed into a smile. It was blocked by the sinister Rakshasa ghost mask on her face. No one could see the bloodthirsty beauty within. The demonic charm was like a poppy that moved people's hearts and souls. Since it's like this, then I don't want this medicinal liquid. Is this trash worthy to be given to me? Her words had a double meaning. Master Lu's expression slightly changed as she confidently threw away the porcelain bottle in her hand. I'll give it to your Blackfield auction house. I only hope that you can hold it firmly. Sell it for a good price. After all, it was bought with her life. Was it so easy to take her things? Luo Qingtong glanced at Master Lu's hands, the smile on her lips even more wanton. She threw away the bottle of medicinal liquid and directly out of the Blackfield auction house. The manager looked at the side. He vaguely felt that something was wrong. He picked up the bottle of liquid that Luo Qingtong had thrown down and looked at Master Lu with a frown. Master Lu, what's going on? Is this customer's medicinal liquid really inconsistent with the actual effect? At the end of his words, there was a hint of sternness in his voice. To be able to become the chief steward of an auction house, which one of them wasn't a shrewd person? Luo Qingtong's sudden performance made him suspicious. However, he found it hard to believe. Being looked at with suspicion, Master Lu's heart was also very angry. He originally thought that Luo Qingtong would swallow this loss in silence, or find him to make trouble. He had ways to deal with both of these. He didn't expect the other party's actions to be so unexpected. She actually threw away her own medicinal liquid and called it trash. How do I know what's going on? What do you mean by questioning me like this? Are you suspecting me? He sneered. I'm a dignified Earth-step pharmacist. Do I need to covet her medicinal liquid? Ridiculous. Chapter 89. After Luo Qingtong left the auction house, she went straight to the northwest of the Blackfield sub-city. Just now at the auction house, she could have exposed the fact that the other party had swapped her medicine. But was that necessary? In the end, the other party was from the auction house. Luo Qingtong didn't expect the people from the auction house to be fair and just. Who knew if the steward had colluded with the other party? Luo Qingtong still liked to solve problems in her own way. Putting your hopes on others was the most stupid thing. If she had done this in the 24th century, she wouldn't know how many times she would have been betrayed. Thinking of the past, Luo Qingtong's smile became more enchanting and wanton. In this world, she didn't trust anyone. She only believed in herself. Without the auction house as a channel, she could still spread the name of her evil Dr. Ghost Eye. And it would spread faster than cooperating with the auction house. Louder. As for Master Lu, Luo Qingtong just smiled and didn't say anything. Blackfield Sub-City, Bloody Arena. This was a killing paradise. This was a bloodthirsty hell. Here, there was the excitement and blood that people needed. All of the negative emotions of human beings were released to the fullest. Kill. 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 Luo Qingtong had just walked into the arena when she heard a wild roar filled with boundless murderous intent. It rushed out from inside like an avalanche. The moment the vermilion door opened, the earth-shattering screams from inside almost overturned the dome of the arena. Every city in the Black region had a bloody arena, allowing the people who entered to vent their anger and killing intent. In this arena, people could enter voluntarily, or they could put the slaves they bought into it and fight to the death to win the money that others bet. That's right, this was not only the biggest fighting arena, but it was also a huge casino. But other casinos bet on cards. Here, they bet on life and death. As soon as Luo Qingtong entered, she was surrounded by maids wearing revealing clothes. Sir, which table would you like to bet on? A charming, tall, and half-exposed maid leaned towards Luo Qingtong with a seductive look on her face. From the 1st to the 9th tables, there must be something you like. Ah! At this point, she suddenly screamed. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent as she let go of her hand that was reaching for her lapel and wanted to touch her chest. I don't like other people touching me, she said in a low and hoarse voice and directly threw him away. Get someone who knows the rules. Yes. Yes. The maid covered her broken wrist, and another maid took her place. Because of Luo Qingtong's ruthlessness, the maid's actions were very well behaved. She didn't dare to rub against Luo Qingtong's body. Dear customer, what kind of betting method do you prefer? I want the most exciting one. Luo Qingtong looked in the direction of the 9th platform. Then I'll choose that. The battle on the 9th platform was the most tragic. Thus, all the people that entered this combat arena were heavily injured. The more serious the injury, the more generous the reward after the battle. In this kind of situation, in order to survive, in order to win, the battle here was much more tragic and bloody than the other places. When Luo Qingtong looked over, the battle on the platform had already reached its end, and the outcome was about to be decided. An incomparably tall and sturdy man was pressed down by a thin and small man. Although he struggled with all his might, he couldn't break free. The thin and small man's strength was not stronger than the tall and sturdy man. In fact, he was much weaker than the tall and sturdy man. But the tall and sturdy man's injuries were too serious. All the meridians in his body were torn, and there was a big hole in his abdomen. His left and right arms were almost cut off. Even his legs, which were the only things he could move, were now bleeding profusely. Chapter 90. Mother. Mother, Luo Qingtong heard his lips moving slightly, constantly calling out to something in a low voice. That pair of eyes looked slack, then focused again, then slack, then focused again. It was as if there was some obsession supporting him, making him unwilling to die just like that. TSK. This fool on the stage is really struggling to the point that people can't bear to look at him. That's right. We've been through blood and blood, who hasn't seen life and death? But this idiot looked so King scary that people couldn't bring themselves to do it. But no matter what, he's dead for sure this time. AI. Who told him to be so stubborn that he didn't listen to anyone's advice? He's already injured like that, he might not even be able to survive even if he lies down and doesn't move, yet he still wants to fight. Look at him now. He's giving away his life and money for nothing. No one in the entire arena bet on him to win. What's the use of him fighting like this? His mother is already dead, there's no saving him. This silly boy. That's right, that skinny little guy is also sinister, deliberately using these words to provoke him. He wants to take his life with serious injuries and fight for a bright future. We can be considered as not being righteous. But we're not that wicked. This time, this blockhead is dead for sure. Faint sighs could be heard from all around. The atmosphere on the 9th arena wasn't as wild and bloodthirsty as the other arenas, and it was even somewhat solemn. Dead for sure. Luo Qingtong listened to these people's words, raised her eyebrows slightly, and raised her hand to point at the stage. All right, it's him. I bet on him to win, 100,000 gold. WH. What? That maid was just about to record down Luo Qingtong's bet when she heard this, and instantly thought that she had misheard. Guessed. Guessed, what did you say? I said I bet on him to win, it's that blockhead. 100,000 gold. Luo Qingtong's voice was faint. You've recorded it? Record. Record it. But guessed, he's about to die. That maid couldn't help but say after recording down Luo Qingtong's bet. 100,000 gold on a person about to die to win. Did this guest have too much money to burn? The maid couldn't figure it out. He won't die. The moment the maid finished speaking, Luo Qingtong's figure shot out. With her around, how could the other party die? As long as he didn't want to die, even if he was at the gates of hell, she would pull him back. Once someone was in her hands, unless she didn't want to save them, unless the other party wanted to die, she would definitely be able to save them. Shwa. Luo Qingtong landed beside the arena. Do you want to live? Her voice entered the ears of the tall and strong man. A trace of doubt appeared on the latter's face, then he nodded vigorously. Yes. His voice was loud and clear, attracting everyone's attention. They didn't know what this blockhead was up to. But no matter what he did, he was dead for sure this time. If you want to, then kill him. I'll save you. As Luo Qingtong spoke, a stream of energy instantly shot out from her fingertips and hit the Baihui acupoint on the top of the blockhead's head. With a boom, the tall and strong man only felt the blood in his body boiling. Roar. He let out a roar that sounded like both a man and a beast. In the next second, his figure suddenly exploded, and in an instant, he threw off the thin and small man on top of him. Ka! The blockhead flew up, caught up with the thin and small man's figure, and viciously twisted his head off. Bang! Chapter 91. Pang, pang, pang. When he fell down, the tall and strong man's body exploded into a mist of blood. In an instant, the man's body no longer had a trace of a human. Everyone in the stands looked at this scene in shock. Forbidden technique. This blockhead is purely looking for death. With such a serious injury, he still dares to use a forbidden technique to forcibly stimulate his strength? Even a person who is unharmed may not be able to withstand the backlash of using a forbidden technique. Is he crazy? Exclamations came one after another. Everyone in the stands was dumbfounded. Everyone thought that the blockhead would lose, but they didn't expect that he still had the strength to use a forbidden technique to kill his opponent. He won. Luo Qingtong looked at the maid behind her who was responsible for recording the bet, raised her eyebrows and said, "Tell your manager to prepare the money." In the entire bloody arena, only Luo Qingtong bet on the blockhead to win. The odds were so high that it was enough to shock people. It broke the record of the bloody arena for so many years. Luo Qingtong's 100,000 gold instantly increased by more than 100 times. No, guessed. The maid was also stunned by the result of the reversal on the stage. Who would have thought that Luo Qingtong just bet on the blockhead to win, and the latter really killed his opponent? But this wasn't enough. She came back to her senses and explained to Luo Qingtong, "Customer, in order for him to win, he must be able to survive. If both sides perish together, the winner would be the Zhuang family. He is dead." Before these 3 words could be said, Luo Qingtong's figure had already landed on the stage in front of her. "I said, he won't die." Luo Qingtong's voice faintly floated from the front. The maid stared at her as she took out a bottle of liquid medicine from her bosom and fed it to the blockhead on the stage. Then she raised her hand and poked him a few times. They watched as Luo Qingtong lowered her head and whispered something in the blockhead's ear. Then, the tall and strong man who was obviously on his last breath and could go see the king of hell at any time stood up shakily. He stood up. F***CK. With such a serious injury, he still forcibly used a forbidden technique. Under such a backlash, it was already God's mercy that he didn't die. That blockhead could still stand up. Everyone was shocked. The whole area around the 9th arena was silent. This kind of silence seemed to be contagious as it spread in all directions. When the people on the other arenas found that the people on their side of the stands were not watching their fight, but watching the 9th arena, the entire bloody arena was immersed in a very strange atmosphere. Everyone looked as if they had seen a ghost as they stared at the blockhead who had crawled up from the ground. The other party's movements were so clean and efficient. The big hole in his abdomen was still there, but there was no more bleeding. What the hell is going on? What did the black-robed man say to that blockhead? It had such an effect. Could it be some kind of resurrection incantation? Some people couldn't help but think. Even more people shifted their burning gazes to the porcelain bottle in Luo Qingtong's hand. Obviously, it was that bottle of medicinal liquid that allowed that big blockhead to live. What level of liquid medicine was that, to be able to resurrect the dead? Chapter 92. Being stared at by countless people, Luo Qingtong's expression didn't change at all. She had long been accustomed to the feeling of being the center of attention. In her previous life, wherever she went, there would be a frenzy of people chasing after her. The bottle of medicinal liquid in Luo Qingtong's hand was the Xianyuan heart liquid that she had previously refined. Master Lu thought that Luo Qingtong had successfully refined that one bottle, but he didn't know that she had a lot of this medicinal liquid in her hands. After all, as long as you dilute one bottle, you can get dozens of bottles. Luo Qingtong didn't lack medicinal liquid in her hands, so after that bottle of medicinal liquid was replaced, she simply threw it away. How do you feel? She looked at the tall and strong man beside her. It still hurts. The blockhead scratches his head with a simple and honest face, but it's much better than before. Before, I thought I was going to die. As he spoke, he smiled foolishly. But he didn't know that he didn't think he was going to die, but he really almost died. If it weren't for Luo Qingtong, he would be dead. It's normal to feel pain. After all, your external injuries haven't healed yet. The bottle of Xianyuan heart liquid in Luo Qingtong's hand can only heal his internal injuries. That is his fatal wound. As for the external injuries, Luo Qingtong has temporarily stopped the bleeding. Others saw that the huge wound on his abdomen is no longer bleeding, but Luo Qingtong used her eye technique to seal all the blood vessels around the wound. There won't be excessive bleeding, so naturally there won't be any danger to his life. After going down, he just needs to recuperate. Now, can you announce that he won? Luo Qingtong looks down at the completely stunned referee below and raises her eyebrows. Yes, that referee comes back to his senses and rushes to the stage to carefully examine the tall and strong man's body. He finds that although his injuries are still very serious, his life is no longer in danger. He immediately announces in a trembling voice. Arena number 9, Battle 132, Chu Lingfeng wins. Hua. Along with his voice, the silence of the entire arena was broken. Everyone stood up with a swoosh, and the gazes they looked at arena number 9 were filled with disbelief. That blockhead who was bound to die, really didn't die? He survived? It wasn't their illusion? Everyone looks at Luo Qingtong with burning eyes, and then desperately yells to bid, wanting to buy the medicinal liquid in her hand. He had even forgotten about losing the bet. In the hysterical shouting and bidding, Luo Qingtong looks at the bloody arena's upper echelon's attention, and the corner of the bloody arena's attention. From then on, the name of evil Dr. Ghost resounded throughout the entire Black Region sub-city. As for the Black Region auction house, after Luo Qingtong left, Master Lu pretended to be in seclusion and entered the extreme state in order to prevent further complications. Then, he excitedly brought the bottle of Xianyuan heart liquid and went to see Yi Qianren. This is a medicinal liquid that this subordinate has occasionally refined. It's a blessing. When this subordinate was refining the medicinal liquid, he inexplicably entered the extreme state and refined this bottle of quasi-heaven stage medicinal liquid. Lord, please take a look. This bottle of medicinal liquid is mainly used to treat meridian injuries. Master Lu can't hide his excitement. He purposely emphasized his last sentence. Quasi-heaven stage medicinal liquid? On the main seat in the lobby, Yi Qianxian's dark golden mask flashes past the porcelain bottle in his hand. Bei Qing steps forward, takes it in her hand, and presents it to Yi Qianxian. Master. Yi Qianxian raises his hand to take the bottle of medicinal liquid. Just as he opens it, his eyebrows suddenly twitches. Chapter 93. Does this mean that you were the one who made this medicine? He looked at the man below. Yes. Master Lu tried his best to suppress the excitement on his face. Yes, I was the one who made it. Who gave you the formula? Yi Qianxian leaned back and tapped his right hand lightly on the armrest. Under the dark gold mask, the man's expression was unreadable. Luo Qingtong's formula was derived from his healing medicine. How could Yi Qianxian not recognize it? Although Luo Qingtong had improved the formula and only used half of the original formula, Yi Qianxian had used too much of it. Yi Qianxian had been using the healing medicine for too long. The smell of the medicine had been engraved into his bones. The smell of the medicine was so familiar that he could not help but suspect that it had something to do with that woman. The image of Luo Qingtong's flowery face appeared in his mind. She gave off an unusually cunning and evil aura. Yi Qianxian narrowed his eyes slightly. If it was that woman, she could have known the formula of his healing medicine with just one look. It was not impossible for her to have only used a portion of it to make the medicine. Yi Qianxian thought about all the strange things that Luo Qingtong had done in the 9 Magi Mountains. So that woman could not only be a weapon refiner, a spiritual array master, but also an alchemist? How many abilities did she have? My lord? Master Lu was stunned by his words. Why would the Lord suddenly ask about this? Could it be that the Lord had seen through his action of changing the medicine? No. Impossible. How could the Lord know about such a small matter? Master Lu tried his best to maintain his composure. His voice trembled as he spoke. My lord, I do not know what you mean. This medicine was made by me. The formula was also, you can't make this medicine. Yi Qianxian interrupted him. The formula could not have been made by you. There is no need to hide it. Who gave it to you? Tell me. Yi Qianxian did not know that Master Lu had changed the medicine, but he was sure that the medicine was not made by him. Because the formula of the healing medicine was not something that could be made by an ordinary person. Even if it could be made, the other party would not be able to make it. Extreme state? If the other party had really entered the extreme state, then he should know that there was an upper limit to the extreme state. Even if he entered the extreme state, it was impossible for him to make this medicine. Only a heavenly alchemist had a chance. Furthermore, it was only a slight possibility. My lord. Under Yi Qianxian's gaze, Master Lu broke out in cold sweat. He could see that Ming Zun did not know that he had changed the medicine, but he mistakenly thought that the prescription was given to him by someone else. Although he didn't know why the Great Lord was so certain, it was obvious that he was looking for the owner of the formula. But this medicine Master Lu's that it medicine. How could he dare to speak the truth? Could it be that he was going to tell the Lord that the person he was looking for had been forced away by him? Moreover, I have a grudge against him, so please don't go looking for him. How could this be? Master Lu's forehead was dripping with sweat. No matter what, he could not admit to this matter. He had to think of a way to smooth things over. Otherwise, if the Lord were to find that black-robed man, he would definitely be in deep trouble. At this time, Master Lu was extremely regretful. If he had known that Master Ya would be able to see through it at a glance and knew that it was not refined by him, why would he change the medicine? If he introduced the black-robed man to the Lord, he would also be rewarded handsomely. As he thought about it, he felt a wave of regret. Just as he was trying his best to find an excuse to get away with it, a sharp pain suddenly came from his hand. Chapter 94. This stinging pain came so suddenly, but it came with such ferocity. Master Lu suddenly screamed in pain. How dare you? Bei Qing scolded him coldly. Master, what is this? He looked at Master Lu's hands in shock. Master Lu's hands were perfectly fine just a moment ago, but now they had turned into a greenish-black color. It was a color that could only be seen after the flesh and blood had rotted away. Not only that, but a pungent smell of rot was emitted from Master Lu's hands. The stench was so strong that Bei Qing took a step back. She watched in horror as Master Lu's hands rapidly rotted and deteriorated. His hands were covered with pus and blood and dark black rotten flesh. As Master Lu convulsed violently in pain, pieces of flesh fell to the ground. The black pieces of flesh fell to the ground, emitting a strong stench. How could a person's hands become like this in an instant? Bei Qing was stunned, but Feng Yu, who was next to her, reacted quickly. You didn't refine this medicinal liquid yourself at all. Right? This is the medicine that was made by someone else. You were greedy and touched something that you shouldn't have. Your hands are rotting. His voice was cold as he stepped forward and pulled Beiqing over. The poison that corroded his hands was so strong that it almost corroded his hands into a pile of bones. If he was infected by it, who knew what the consequences would be? Master Lu was in so much pain that he couldn't even speak. The 10 fingers were connected to the heart. His 10 fingers were rotting, and the greenish-black color was still spreading up his arms. If this went on, he might end up rotting into a skeleton. Master Lu trembled violently as he thought of this. The black-robed man. It's that black-robed old man. I have to find him. I was wrong. I shouldn't have swapped his medicine. He cried and rushed out. Without needing Feng Yu's reminder, Master Lu immediately thought of Luo Qingtong. He was shocked and frightened when he thought of the words that the other party had said before he left. The other party's poison was so powerful. He didn't even know when he was poisoned. He knew that he had swapped the medicine, but he didn't point it out. This was simply tormenting him. As Master Lu thought about it, he trembled even more. However, he did not dare to delay at all and hurriedly rushed out. He was going to find Luo Qingtong to detoxify him. Seeing him rush out of the door, Yi Qianxian, who was sitting on the main seat, finally moved. A black-robed old man? Not that woman. He looked at Master Lu's pair of terrifying skeletal hands without a trace of emotion, but now, because of the other party's words, he frowned. Send someone to follow him. Also, get someone to call the manager of the auction house over. He wanted to know more about the black-robed man. Yes. Master. Beiqing and Feng Yu accepted the order and left. In the bloody arena, Luo Qingtong was respectfully invited to the VIP room at the back, and became a guest of honor here. A group of fiendish-looking managers of the bloody arena were looking at her with a smile, with a kind look on their faces. That appearance, coupled with their fierce-looking faces, was even scarier than their usual ferocious appearances. However, Luo Qingtong did not care at all. It wasn't the first time she had come into contact with such bloodthirsty people. The other party obviously had a request for her. Chapter 95. Sir Evil Doctor. After inviting Luo Qingtong to take a seat, a manager of the bloody arena couldn't help but rub his hands. How many bottles of medicinal liquid do you have in your hands? We. Before he finished speaking, Luo Qingtong faintly opened her mouth. 10 bottles. Half of it will be distributed by the bloody arena, and the other half will be auctioned off. I'll take 90% of the price. How about the cooperation in the future? As soon as Luo Qingtong's words came out, the managers of the bloody arena were pleasantly surprised. They were just worrying about how to win over this evil Dr. Ghost Eye. The other party took the initiative to propose cooperation. Wasn't this like a sleepy bug meeting a good pillow? Without any hesitation, they agreed in one breath. In the end, for fear that Luo Qingtong would go back on her words, they hurriedly prepared her reward. After all, Luo Qingtong sold them the 5 bottles of medicinal liquid that the bloody arena had allocated themselves, and they also had to pay for it. As for the money that Luo Qingtong had won from the bet, they had already prepared it. Luo Qingtong stopped them and only took the money that she had won from the bet. This money was enough for her to use. As for the rest, she still had things to do for these people in the bloody arena. The 5 bottles of medicinal liquid could be regarded as her down payment. Luo Qingtong didn't forget her purpose in coming to the Blackfield sub-city. It was to find the detoxification herb she needed to cure the poison in her eyes. Originally, it was most reliable to find the auction house for this matter. After all, there were more transactions there, and it was easier to find the herbs that Luo Qingtong needed. But who let the pharmacist on their side be blind and offend Luo Qingtong? Since they had become enemies, Luo Qingtong naturally couldn't go to the other side to find and buy herbs. Naturally, the Gory Arena was the one to blame for this. Fortunately, they also belonged to the Blackfield sub-city, and their status and weight were no less than the auction house. What the latter could get, they could also find a way to get. This was the real reason why Luo Qingtong cooperated with them. As long as it was a force from the Black Field, there was a need for cooperation. After all, Luo Qingtong didn't have that much time to find the antidote. I need these herbs. You guys think of a way to prepare them for me. If you need anything in the future, you can come to me. Luo Qingtong gave them the list of medicinal herbs. There were hundreds of medicinal herbs listed on it. The antidote that Luo Qingtong needed was hidden inside. This way, no one would be able to easily guess her motive. After winning a lot of money, Luo Qingtong was not short of money at all. Moreover, the people in the bloody arena wouldn't let her lack money. Sure enough, after hearing her words, a group of people from the bloody arena patted their chests and promised that they would help Luo Qingtong prepare all the medicinal herbs on the list as soon as possible. As for money, it didn't matter. If Lord Ghost I were to casually concoct 2 bottles of medicine for them, it would be more than enough to cover the cost of the medicine. These people in charge of the bloody arena didn't lack money. On the contrary, the medicine that Luo Qingtong concocted couldn't be bought with money. They knew better than anyone how to settle this account. Luo Qingtong smiled and nodded. She got up and prepared to leave the VIP room. Just then, a person suddenly rushed in from outside. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Who is Evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Impudent. Who are you? How dare you call Lord Evil Doctor by her name? These people in the bloody arena didn't know Luo Qingtong's real name. They thought that Evil Doctor was Luo Qingtong's name and Ghost Eye was Luo Qingtong's name. Seeing this person barge into the bloody arena's VIP room and call Luo Qingtong by her name, they were furious. Chapter 96. Impudent. How dare you touch me? The man's expression was very anxious. Seeing that the people from the bloody arena were chasing him away, he immediately took out something from his arms and held it up in front of him. Black Field Token. Seeing that black iron level token, the people from the bloody arena immediately stopped. People who had a Black Field token were guests in the Black Field. Unless they did something extremely excessive and violated the rules of the Black Field, all the cities in the Black Field had to treat them with the appropriate courtesy. Although the other party took out the lowest level Black Field token and had limited authority, the people from the bloody arena still couldn't be too presumptuous with him. Who are you? Even if you have a Black Field token, you can't barge into my bloody arena without any scruples. Now, please leave immediately. Otherwise, after 3 warnings, I can still throw you out. The people from the bloody arena lost face in front of Luo Qingtong and looked at the man who barged in with unkind expressions. Damn it. If the other party didn't have a Black Field token, they would have thrown him out long ago. Lord Evil Doctor, I'm sorry. One of the people in charge of the bloody arena transmitted his voice to Luo Qingtong. You've been frightened. After a while, we'll also apply for a Black Field token for you. It's guaranteed to be higher level than his black iron level token. When you appear in all the cities in the Black Field, you won't be harassed by these rascals. With Luo Qingtong's identity as the Evil Doctor, it was enough for the higher-ups to issue a Black Field token. When the time came, they just had to work a little and get a silver token. It would also save them the trouble of always having people act presumptuously in front of them and not being able to do anything to them. Wasn't this making things difficult for Lord Evil Doctor? Having already cooperated with Luo Qingtong, the people in charge of the bloody arena had long regarded her as one of their own. At this moment, seeing her being harassed by someone with an iron-grade Black Field token, and being unable to do anything about it, they were extremely displeased. Yes, it's fine. Luo Qingtong nodded indifferently at the bloody arena's manager. The opportunity to obtain the Black Field token was naturally good. Not to mention the Black Field order, which was of a higher grade. Speaking of which, she had to thank the person who had barged in. Luo Qingtong thought as she raised her head to look at the other party. When she saw it, she immediately laughed. Not for anything else, but because the person who had barged in was none other than Yu Wenma. Her good fiancé. Luo Qingtong looked at Yu Wenma playfully. Upon closer inspection, the other party was indeed a rare handsome man. His face was cold, handsome, and resolute. He possessed both the noble aura of an imperial family and the piercingly cold aura of a genius expert. However, she had already seen Yi Qianxian, a one-of-a-kind person in the world. Looking at Yu Wenma again, Luo Qingtong could only describe him with one word: passable. Of course, in this world, there were many people who couldn't even reach the standard of these two words. Yu Wenma's expression was very anxious. His gaze swept over the bloody arena's higher-ups, and finally fixed on Luo Qingtong, who didn't look like someone from the bloody arena. Especially when he saw the Rakshasa mask on her face, he immediately confirmed her identity in his heart. "You're the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Come with me to save my junior sister. We're disciples of the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin. As long as you save my junior sister, we'll naturally reward you greatly." As he spoke, he thought that Luo Qingtong wouldn't refuse, so he raised his hand to pull her. Chapter 97. I'm sorry, this disciple of the Empire of Qin's Holy Court. Luo Qingtong's red lips softly spit out. There are 3 things I won't save. First, I won't save people I'm not happy with. Second, I won't save people who deserve to die. Third, I won't save people who can't be cured by me. So, you should ask someone else. Help him save his junior sister. Ha! Did Yu Wenmo really think that she, evil Dr. Ghost Eye, was some random cat or dog on the roadside that he could summon and dismiss at will? Don't say that I have a good impression of him. Even if he was a stranger who didn't feel anything, Luo Qingtong wouldn't make a move because of his rude actions just now. The other party didn't respect her as a pharmacist at all. Indeed, Yu Wenma heard that there was an evil Dr. Ghost Eye here who could bring the dead back to life, so he directly came over. He actually didn't believe that Luo Qingtong's medical skills were that good. He had never heard of the name evil Dr. Ghost Eye before. Not to mention bringing the dead back to life. He even said that the backlash from using the forbidden technique was cured in an instant. Not only that, the injuries in his body were all healed. Yu Wenma simply scoffed. It was just a gimmick from the bloody battle arena. To fool those ignorant cultivators. Even their Holy Court's pharmacist teacher couldn't refine this kind of medicinal liquid. How could there be such a powerful person in this small black field branch city? He just thought that the other party was a pharmacist and might be of some use, so he came to find her. He didn't expect that the other party didn't know how to appreciate favors. Did he feel that he didn't offer a price and was afraid that he would suffer a loss? He heard that he had won a lot of money before. Could it be that he was insatiably greedy and wanted more? Yu Wenma felt disgust in his heart. He looked up at Luo Qingtong and said coldly, "Do you think the price isn't enough? How much did you pay for the person you saved just now?" "I'll pay 10 times the price." Yu Wenma didn't want to waste words with Luo Qingtong. His junior sister had just used a secret technique on the stage and injured her meridians. He didn't know if it would affect her cultivation in the future. The other party had snuck out to find him. If teacher were to find out that little junior sister was injured because she snuck out to look for him, and that it might affect her future cultivation advancement, it was inevitable that teacher would vent his anger on him. Therefore, Yu Wenma came to find Luo Qingtong, the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, with a glimmer of hope. He hoped that she would have some real ability to stabilize his junior sister's injuries. When he returned to the Holy Court, there would naturally be people who would help him treat him. 10 times, that's a lot. Luo Qingtong's voice dragged out, low and hoarse. Just when Yu Wenma thought that she was moved and felt contempt in his heart, he suddenly heard her tone change. She sneered and said, "Unfortunately, I don't like you." 10 times? She didn't care even if the price was 100 or 1,000 times higher. What's more, she had saved that blockhead because she wanted to. She didn't even take a single cent. But Yu Wenma wanted to ask her for help. Sorry. She wasn't willing. Luo Qingtong walked past Yu Wenma and headed outside. At this time, the other new students of the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin also arrived. Senior brother, don't talk to this kind of person. I think it's not that he doesn't want to save her. It's that he doesn't dare to save her. That's right, senior brother. I think he's just a swindler. Let's not talk nonsense with him. We should hurry and find that Earth Stage Alchemist Grandmaster Lu from the auction house. As long as he's willing to help, junior sister will be fine. The new students of the Holy Court were very angry at Luo Qingtong for treating Yu Wenma so slowly. They pulled him and were about to leave. That's right. Yu Wenma, disdain to ask this kind of person for help. Let's go. Yu Wenma said coldly. The group of people said this and were about to leave. Chapter 98. Master. Master, save me. It's my fault. It's all my fault. Waves of mournful cries came from afar. In the arena, the crowd parted at the entrance like a tide. It was so fast that it was as if something terrifying had rushed in from outside the door. One had to know that those who entered the arena to vent their anger were mostly violent and tyrannical people who had seen life and death and blood. Usually, they wouldn't even blink when they saw someone with broken limbs. But this time, they scattered as if they had seen a ghost. Yu Wenma and his group just happened to walk out of the VIP lounge and saw the crowd parting in the arena. They immediately looked over curiously. When they saw it, they vomited. Some of the freshmen with weaker psychological endurance vomited on the spot. The others' faces also turned pale. They saw a person rushing out from the middle of the passageway where the crowd had parted. No, it couldn't even be called a person. It would be more appropriate to describe it as a rotting corpse. The flesh on the man's body was rotten into chunks. As he rushed forward, the chunks of flesh kept falling down, mixed with a yellow and white mucus. It looked like a rotting corpse that could move. What was even more terrifying was that half of his face was rotten. As he ran and screamed, the rotting flesh on his mouth fell down bit by bit, revealing the eerie white bones within. As he moved, an unbearable stench quickly spread out. Such a horrifying scene was not common even in nightmares. Let alone in reality. Master. Save me. I beg you to spare me. I won't dare to do it again. I won't dare to do it again. That disgusting, rotting corpse ran in front of Luo Qingtong and knelt down, kowtowing with all his might. I won't dare to do it again. I won't dare to do it again. I didn't recognize Mount Tai and didn't know how powerful you are. Master. Spare me. Spare me. Master Lu cried and screamed as he desperately begged for mercy. His whole body was rotten to the extreme and it was still deteriorating. He had a feeling that if this continued, the surface of his body would completely rot, and it would be his internal organs' turn. At that time, even the Golden Immortal wouldn't be able to save him. The poison was acting up too violently. He had no time to react at all. Even after eating several antidote pills, there was no effect. What's more, even the medicinal pill that he bought at a high price that could cure 100 poisons refined by a heavenly alchemist had no effect. Instead, it was getting worse and worse. If he hadn't heard that the evil Dr. Ghost Eye had appeared in the bloody arena and was most likely the black-robed old man, he would have committed suicide in despair. Master. Please be merciful. Please be merciful. He kowtowed desperately. Pieces of rotten flesh fell from his body and face as he moved. Many people couldn't help but avert their eyes in disgust. At this moment, someone from the freshmen of the Saint Academy who were with Yu and Mo couldn't help but say, "You evil doctor are too vicious. What did he do that made you want to torture him like this?" There was no mercy in his heart at all. Really? Luo Qingtong smiled. She wasn't in a hurry to leave. She sat down on a chair next to her and raised her head to look at the rotting corpse kneeling at her feet. In that case, Master Lu, why don't you tell them what you did to become like this? When Luo Qingtong said this, everyone was shocked. Chapter 99. Everyone looked at the disgusting person kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy in shock. They couldn't connect this person with the arrogant and aloof Master Lu in the auction house. How could this be? This was actually Master Lu. But with Luo Qingtong's words, everyone could vaguely see some of Master Lu's silhouette from the remaining intact face. Could this really be Master Lu? While everyone was still in shock, the new students of the sacred institution instantly retorted angrily. You're talking nonsense. Master Lu is an earth stage alchemist. How could he become like this? You evil doctor are really disgusting. You actually use such words to humiliate people. I think you're afraid that we'll go find Master Lu. Deliberately playing these tricks to disgust people. Those new students of the sacred institution just said this when they were interrupted by a voice from the side. This really is Master Lu. Look, he's even wearing an earth stage alchemist robe. And there's also that badge on his chest. It really is Master Lu. Because that rotten corpse was too disgusting. No one paid attention to what the bloody black clothes on his body looked like. Now that they heard that person say this, many people immediately looked towards that rotting corpse. Sure enough, they saw the emblem that symbolized an earth rank alchemist and that alchemist robe. This really was Master Lu. Everyone was shocked, and those new students of the sacred institution who kept criticizing Luo Qingtong looked like they swallowed a fly, their faces alternating between green and white. At this moment, Master Lu's voice also sounded. Master. I was wrong. I don't dare to switch your medicinal liquid again. Everything is because of my greed. I deserve to die. Please spare me. Spare me. The way he slowly rotted and died was too terrifying. Master Lu simply couldn't care about his dignity as an earth stage alchemist. His life was gone. What was the use of that false reputation? Once he spoke, those new students of the sacred institution's face became even uglier. They just said that Luo Qingtong treated the other party too viciously, and in the end, Master Lu revealed that it was because he switched Luo Qingtong's medicinal liquid that he became like this. Thinking about it, that poison must have been put on the medicinal liquid by Luo Qingtong. Whoever touched her medicine would end up like this. Master Lu had only himself to blame. Luo Qingtong didn't even make a move. But you can't use such a vicious poison. A new student of the Sacred Institute wanted to defend himself and the others, but he was scolded by the surrounding crowd. Can you students of the Sacred Institute be reasonable? The poison was smeared on the medicine bottle. If Master Lu had not been so greedy, he would have been fine. No matter how vicious this poison was, it couldn't hurt him. Who asked him to be so dirty? Exactly. Some people who supported Luo Qingtong scolded, "You're talking as if you won't beat a thief to death when you catch him. Your hands must be stained with blood, right? You're still pretending to be a saint. It's not disgusting." These freshmen of the Holy Institute had found the wrong place to speak up for Grandmaster Lu. This was the bloody arena. Most of the people here were ruthless people who paid particular attention to revenge. In their eyes, there was nothing wrong with Luo Qingtong's approach. But the words of these students of the Sacred Institute were disgusting. They were kind-hearted. If you're kind-hearted, don't fight back when you meet an opponent who wants to kill you. Here, you're so righteous, but in the end, you're doing the same thing. Everyone looked at them with disdain. Being looked at like this, the faces of the new students of the Sacred Institute immediately turned red. Yuan Ma's face was also very ugly. It was not because of the ridicule of the people around, but because Luo Qingtong's medical skills were so amazing. Even Grandmaster Lu was like this because of her. She had really misjudged him before. "Let's go," he said coldly. At this moment, Luo Qingtong opened her mouth. Chapter 100. You're leaving just like that? Luo Qingtong tilted her head slightly. Under the black hood, a ferocious and evil Rakshasa mask appeared. The ferocious Rakshasa on the mask faintly looked at Yu Wenma and the others with an evil smile. You just said that I'm vicious and fishing for fame. What? Now that the truth is out, aren't you going to say anything? Luo Qingtong faintly flicked her sleeves and looked at them. Following her words, the people of the bloody arena also stood up. That's right. Just now, you wantonly slandered Master Evil Doctor. Now you want to leave after scolding her? How can there be such a good thing? A group of rough men stared at Yu Wenma and the others with unkind eyes. What do you want? Yu Wenma's complexion was already bad. Now that he was stopped by Luo Qingtong, his expression turned even uglier. Although he asked the people of the bloody arena, his eyes were looking at Luo Qingtong. Everyone knew that the one in charge here was Luo Qingtong. Nothing much. Luo Qingtong looked at him with a faint smile. The ugly expression on the other party's face made her very happy. Ha! Wasn't Yu Wenma very high and mighty before? The genius freshman of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin really had the right to be proud. If it were someone else, Luo Qingtong might not bicker with them. But Yu Wenma, thinking of how Yuan royal family had looked down on Luo Qingtong and the entire Luo family, and how he spoke to them in a condescending tone, Luo Qingtong crossed her arms and tapped her fingers casually. I just want you to apologize to me in front of everyone. When Luo Qingtong said this, the freshman of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. It was just an apology. It was nothing. However, the next second, Luo Qingtong's tone suddenly changed. Kneel down, kowtow, and say sorry 3 times. This evil doctor will forgive you. Looking down on her? Questioning her medical skills? Saying that she was fishing for fame? Luo Qingtong's smile hidden under the Rakshasa mask bloomed like a red spider lily. What a coincidence. She was a very vengeful person. And once she remembered, she would definitely take revenge. Plus the original owner's grudges and old grudges, Luo Qingtong felt that she was being very magnanimous by only asking Yuan Mo and the rest to kowtow and apologize. You. Hearing her words, the people of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin were instantly furious. That's impossible. In your dreams. A freshman of the Holy Academy behind Yu Wenma said. Make them kneel down and apologize? What face would they have left then? If this matter were to spread out, it would be so humiliating. This evil doctor. That's. So you're saying that you're not going to apologize? Luo Qingtong looked at them with empty eyes. Behind her, a group of people from the bloody arena sneered and took a step forward. You. Fine. Then let's replace it with physical pain. The people of the bloody arena clenched their fists so tightly that creaking sounds could be heard. His imposing manner caused the faces of all the freshmen of the Holy Institute to turn pale. You dare. We're students of the Sacred Academy. The new student suddenly lowered his voice when he said this. It turned out that he suddenly remembered that they were freshmen of the Holy Academy, but the bloody arena was from the Black Field. The Black Field wasn't even afraid of the 4 great sacred dynasties, so why would they care about the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin? Chapter 101. Sure enough, as soon as he said that, the people from the bloody arena and the bystanders all laughed. The Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin, we are so scared. The people from the bloody arena were full of hostility. Suddenly, their faces turned serious and they said coldly, then you can try. We will break your legs here. Let's see if the people from the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin dare to come and find trouble with our Lord Mingzun. The Black Field had its own rules. As members of the bloody arena, they couldn't casually attack the students from the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin. But it was different if it was Lord Mingzun's request. Because it was a deal. Moreover, the people from the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin had insulted Lord Mingzun, so it was reasonable for them to attack. As for the iron-level black field token, oh, it was the people from the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin who broke the rules first. Moreover, the lowest level black field token didn't give them the right to ignore or cancel the rules of the black field. If they caused trouble in the black field, as long as they didn't kill Yu Wenma and the others, the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin wouldn't dare to find trouble with them. It was because of this that the people from the bloody arena were so determined to stand up for Luo Qingtong. Lord Mingzun would take care of everything. What were they afraid of? In fact, they hoped that none of the new students from the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin would compromise. That way, they would have a chance to teach them a lesson and curry favor with Lord Mingzun. With Lord Mingzun's medical skills, he could casually make some medicine and pills, which would be enough for them to benefit immensely. You. Hearing the two words, Lord Mingzun, the new students from the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin instantly withered. Especially when they thought that Lord Mingzun was in this sub-city of the Black Field, they panicked even more. If Lord Mingzun was alarmed, they might be in an even more miserable state. Who knew what the Black Field would do to win over this evil doctor? They could only blame themselves for being blind and offending this demonic doctor. At this time, the faces of the freshmen, who had previously been extremely disdainful of Luo Qingtong and felt that she was a swindler, were burning with shame and humiliation. Senior brother. They looked at Yu Wenma. The latter's expression was not much better than theirs. In fact, it was even uglier. But in the face of power, they had no choice but to bow their heads. Yu Wenmo clenched his fists. His heart was filled with shame and anger because of the humiliation he felt. He gritted his teeth and looked at Luo Qingtong. In the end, he had no choice but to lower his head. Boom! He knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times to Luo Qingtong. This is all because of me. I failed to recognize Mount Tai and underestimated Lord Evil Doctor. My junior brothers and sisters were implicated because of me. Lord Evil Doctor, please, don't take it to heart. Every word Yu Wenma said was extremely difficult. As the gods' favored son of the Empire of Tianyu, he was admitted to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin and became a heaven-grade freshman. He had never been humiliated like this before. The eyes of the surrounding people pierced him like thorns, making him feel extremely humiliated. Yu Wenma lowered his head, unwilling to let her see the shame and indignation in his eyes. Very good. Not bad. Luo Qingtong glanced at him lightly. This Yu Wenma was indeed a character. To be able to endure such a humiliating situation and resolve it, Li Tianming had no choice but to do so. Looking at the touched faces of the surrounding freshmen, Luo Qingtong smiled playfully. Interesting. At this time, if she continued to be aggressive, she would be helping Yu Wenma's good reputation. She was not that kind. Okay. The girl waved her hand, you can go. His nonchalant attitude made Yu Wenmo feel even more aggrieved. He didn't say a word and directly left with the people of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Of course, his injured junior sister was also included. Looking at his angry back and the blue veins on his forehead, Luo Qingtong was in a very good mood. Chapter 102. After leaving the bloody arena, Yu Wenma and the others went straight to where their airship was parked. Their airship didn't have a summer's subspace like Yi Qinxian's. They could only park it in the Black Fields airship parking area. After boarding the airship, Yu Wenma didn't say a word. He sat in his seat with a gloomy face. The others didn't even dare to say a word. Everyone could see that he was in a bad mood. At this moment, a letter suddenly flew in from afar like a flying feather and a ray of light. It was the emergency contact he left in the Tianyu Empire. It could send him a message from thousands of miles away. Seeing the light of the letter, Yu Wenmo raised his hand and caught it. When he finished reading the contents of the letter, his already ugly expression darkened even more. Pa! He crushed the letter in his hand and wrote a few lines in the air. Then he suddenly waved his hand. The light of the message immediately shot off into the distance. After doing all this, he suddenly raised his hand and slammed it heavily on the tea table in front of him, directly smashing the tea table into pieces. Break off the engagement? In your dreams. Yuan Ma's face was extremely angry. The Luo family wanted to break off the engagement? That was impossible. Luo Qingtong was destined to be his woman in life and his ghost in death. The engagement couldn't be broken off. Yuan Ma didn't care what Yuan Shue did to Luo Qingtong. He only knew that the Luo family didn't have the right to disobey him. If he wanted to marry Luo Qingtong, the Luo family could only obey him. If they didn't, he didn't mind destroying the Luo family and taking Luo Qingtong back to the Tianyu Empire by force. Anyway, he just needed her to be a decoration. As for whether Luo Qingtong and the Luo family were willing or not, it was not within his consideration. It was just a marquee mansion in a low-level country. What right did they have to refuse him? Yuan Ma's face was cold. If it weren't for, he wouldn't even look at Luo Qingtong. Just as Yuan Shue said, she didn't deserve him. Shua. The light of the letter flew towards the Tianyu Empire. After flying for a while, it fell into the emperor's hand. How is it? What did Mo say? Empress Tianyu asked anxiously. Beside her, Yuan Shue also sat up straight and looked towards her imperial father. Mo won't. Also, tell the Luo family to behave themselves and wait for Luo Qingtong to marry him when she is 16. Emperor Tianyu said as he crushed the letter. What? Empress and Yuan Shue couldn't believe it. It's already like this and Mo still isn't going to break off the engagement? Empress Tianyu was furious. Yuan Shue almost tore her clothes. Has imperial brother gone mad? It's already. He wants to continue the engagement. Aren't we just waiting for others to laugh at our royal family? She stomped her feet anxiously. You still have the nerve to say that. It's all because of you. Emperor Tianyu glared at her. Who told you to make a move on Luo Qingtong? Your brother must have a reason to marry her. You and your mother are the only ones who are causing trouble. I'm not causing trouble. I'm doing it for my brother's sake. That's such a good opportunity. If my brother agrees, he'll have a meteoric rise and our Tianyu imperial family will rise. What did I do wrong? Besides, didn't father and mother both tacitly agree to this? Yuan Shue stomped her feet, looking aggrieved. Chapter 103. Shut up. Emperor Tianyu coldly shouted. If your royal brother doesn't agree, then it's useless. Enough. It's a foregone conclusion and your royal brother won't change his mind. You're not allowed to provoke Luo Qingtong in the future. Emperor Tianyu indifferently said as he stood up. He did acquiesce after discovering Yuan Shue's actions. But now that there was no chance of that happening, he could only accept Luo Qingtong as his daughter-in-law. As for what Yuan Shue did, he would naturally cover it up. With the power of Tianyu Empire, it's easy to erase the influence of Yuan Shue's actions. Luo family better behave. Otherwise, he wouldn't mind uprooting their entire family. In any case, Mo only wanted Luo Qingtong as a decoration. Alright, you guys can go and comfort grandfather Luo. Tell him not to have any other thoughts. Luo Qingtong is destined to be a member of our Tianyu Empire. Just based on their Luo family, they want to break off the engagement. In their dreams. Emperor Tianyu's heart was unsettled. He didn't show it on his face, but his words were very impolite. As for what Shue did, it was just playing around. Give him something to comfort him, that's all. In a bad mood, Emperor Tianyu didn't even have the mood to see grandfather Luo. If Yuan Ma agreed to break off the engagement, he would naturally be willing to see grandfather Luo. But now, Yuan Ma refused. Grandfather Luo coming to break off the engagement was a slap in the face. A weak marquis mansion from an inferior country. How dare he come to their door and break off the engagement? Emperor Tianyu's heart was very uncomfortable and he directly flicked his sleeves to leave. Behind him, Yu Wenxue stomped her feet. Mother! Look at royal father, he. Enough, this is your royal brother's decision, your royal father can't do anything about it. Someone, summon grandfather Luo. Empress Tianyu was also very unhappy, but she knew that if Yu Wenma didn't agree, no one could force him. Half of Tianyu Empire's power was supported by Yu Wenma. If he didn't agree, no matter how unhappy they were, they couldn't break off the engagement. What a pity, Luo Qingtong took such a good position. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have proposed this marriage to the Luo clan. The more she thought about it, the uglier her expression became. When he faced old Master Luo, he did not have a pleasant expression on his face. With their status in the Tianyu Empire, it was already a blessing for them to marry a girl from a small family like Luo Qingtong. So what if he was dissatisfied? He was just a country guarding marquis from a small family. Did he expect her, the Empress of Tianyu, to smile at him? At this time, Tianyu Empress had completely forgotten that it was Yu Wenxue who made a move on Luo Qingtong first, so grandfather Luo came to cancel the engagement. Of course, even if she hadn't forgotten, she probably wouldn't have cared. In her eyes, the royal family of Tianyu could do whatever they wanted to the Luo family and Luo Qingtong, but it was wrong for the other party to break off the engagement. It was a slap to the face of Tianyu's royal family. Old Master Luo, Mo, has sent a message back. The royal family of Tianyu will not withdraw from this marriage. Your Luo clan should stop having other thoughts. Tell Luo Qingtong to get ready. When she turns 16, people from Tianyu will go pick her up. As for Shui, it's just a child's play. It's a bit overboard, but it's not a big deal. The Empress of Tianyu sat high up on the high chair and said. But we've frightened your Luo clan. Here's a gift list, consider it our apology to the Luo clan. Let's drop this matter. Don't mention the cancellation of the engagement again. Chapter 104. Elder Luo thought the annulment would go smoothly. After all, Tianyu's royal family couldn't deny what Yu Wenxue had done. He didn't expect them to be so shameless. When the Empress of Tianyu spoke, he thought he'd heard wrong. Children's play? No big deal. Bribing the second concubine's daughter to harm the first wife's daughter, crippling her cultivation, blinding her eyes, and throwing her to a group of men to rape. When she was lucky enough to escape, they even sent men to kill her. Was this a game between children? Was this not a big deal? Did Tianyu's royal family take him for a fool? And, an apology? Elder Luo looked at the list of gifts in front of him and gritted his teeth so hard they were about to shatter. Qingtong almost lost her life after being wronged like that. Tianyu's royal family sent him away with a gift list. They refused to annul the engagement and didn't even punish Yu Wenxue. What did they take the Luo family for? What did they take Qingtong for? And Luo Qingtong was blind. Elder Luo knew she was fine and could still see with her eye talent. But Tianyu's royal family didn't know. Yet the Empress of Tianyu didn't mention it at all. It was as if Luo Qingtong's blindness wasn't a big deal. Instead, she said it was a child's play and it was harmless. Elder Luo felt that if he accepted the gift list today, he wouldn't have the face to see Luo Qingtong and his ancestors. Bang! Old Master Luo was so angry that he stood up and knocked over the gift box in front of him. That's impossible. Tianyu's royal family did such a thing. I won't marry Qingtong off again. I must annul this engagement. How dare you! The Empress of Tianyu's expression darkened when she saw her gift box being knocked over. She was already unhappy. It was already polite enough for her to suppress her temper and talk to Elder Luo. She didn't expect him to be so unappreciative. How could the Luo family cancel the engagement of the Tianyu royal family as they wished? Bang! She slammed her hand on the armrest and looked at Elder Luo coldly. Who do you think your Luo family is? If Mo didn't insist on annulling the engagement, do you think I would care about a small Luo family? What part of that Luo Qingtong is worthy of my son? Let me tell you, you have to agree to this engagement. Even if you don't want to. In front of our Tianyu Empire, you have no right to refuse. *CK your mother's bullshit. Old Master Luo was completely enraged. That's all I have to say. Tianyu's royal family's royal family. Dream. Regardless of whether you agree or not, our Luo clan will definitely annul this marriage. He then left in a rage. He left. Even if he had to risk his life, he would not let Luo Qingtong marry into Tianyu's royal family. Bang! Seeing Elder Luo Tess, Empress, TTS, Empress of. At this time, Yu Wenxue came out from behind the screen. Imperial Mother, this Elder Luo is so arrogant. You're letting him go just like that? She pouted. Enough, don't add fuel to the fire, Empress of Tianyu said with a displeased expression. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. This Elder Luo is our royal family's in-law. Your royal brother is a new student who just entered the sky grade. You can't go too far. Otherwise, you'll ruin his reputation. Otherwise, why would she swallow this anger? Chapter 105. In the Black Field. Luo Qingtong didn't know what happened in the Tianyu Empire. After giving the antidote to Master Lu, she got up and left. Of course, the antidote wasn't given for free. Almost all of Master Lu's property fell into her hands. He had an extremely luxurious and spacious mansion in the Black Field sub-city. The moment Luo Qingtong got the title deed, she moved in without hesitation. She had always been a person who didn't want to treat herself badly. Who would want to live in an inn when there was a good place to live? She didn't want to be abused. But Master Lu really knew how to enjoy himself. Luo Qingtong looked at the huge white jade pool behind the screen next to the master bedroom. The first thing she did was to take off her clothes and take a bath. She had really had enough of these few days. The Blackfield sub-city was in the wilderness. Luo Qingtong found this place after sleeping in the open for several days. If Master Lu hadn't secretly changed her medicine at the auction house, she would have finished everything and returned to the inn to take a bath. Although he had been delayed for a while, it was still not bad to obtain such a residence. This huge white jade pool was formed by connecting the several side rooms next to the master bedroom together by hollowing them out. That Master Lu was also very elegant. The white jade pool was covered with pebbles. Around the pool, 8 huge beast heads kept pouring out hot water. In a short while, the white jade pool was filled with more than half. Luo Qingtong took off her clothes and stepped barefoot into the pool decorated with bright jade jewelry. For the first time, she felt that Master Lu did the right thing by changing her medicine. Otherwise, how could she get such a good mansion? It should be known that the real estate in the Black Field was very expensive. Moreover, people who weren't in the Black Field couldn't buy it. Even if Luo Qingtong was the evil Dr. Ghostai, she didn't have the qualification to buy real estate in the Black Field before she got the Black Field token from the Bloody Arena. She would often come to the Black Field in the future. Having such a mansion was simply too comfortable. However, she still had to find a way to change the servants in this mansion. Although Luo Qingtong wasn't afraid of Master Lu daring to do anything, it wasn't so comfortable to use other people. This was a bad habit that Luo Qingtong developed in her previous life. She generally wouldn't keep people by her side if she didn't have them by her side. It seemed that she had to go to the slave market tomorrow. In addition, she had to buy some people back to the Luo family. In Luo Qingtong's eyes, the Luo family's strength was not enough. After she finished with her business here, she went back to help the Luo family's strength. Especially the old man. Couldn't break through. Luo Qingtong knew that he had accumulated enough strength. It was just that in terms of comprehension, he was still lacking that final step. She was going to stay here for a while to collect some elixirs to refine a congealing pill for the old man. Refining elixirs and refining elixirs were two different things. Therefore, Luo Qingtong was going to collect more elixirs to avoid any mishaps. While thinking, she stretched her body, comfortably half lying on the edge of the white jade pool, soaking in the warm pool water. She twirled the fruits on the plate beside the pool and tasted them carefully. Suddenly, her eyes narrowed. In the next second, her body flew up with the pool of water vapor. A muslin dress appeared in an instant, wrapping around her exquisite body. His black cloak fluttered in the air in an instant. It completely enveloped her body. Who? Luo Qingtong lowered her voice and shouted. Outside the room, there was a guard that she set up using her previous life's unique method. At this moment, his vigilance was suddenly triggered by someone. Swish. Chapter 106. Yi Qianxian stared at the person in front of him, whose body was still covered in water vapor. The black cloak completely covered Luo Qingtong's figure. Not even a strand of her hair could be seen. Yi Qianxian believed that with his abilities, no one would be able to detect him if he were to appear anywhere. However, it was obvious that the other party had discovered his tracks. Yi Qianxian narrowed his eyes and sized up Luo Qingtong. When he saw the sinister Rakshasa mask on her face, he became increasingly suspicious that the other party was that woman. As for Luo Qingtong, the moment Yi Qianxian appeared, she was already cursing in her heart. It was because she recognized that the person who had just arrived was the man she had threatened, teased, and even forcibly kissed, on the 9 Magi Mountain. Don't ask Luo Qingtong how she could recognize him. She had her eye technique. Although Yi Qianxian was wearing a dark gold mask, he didn't use his powers to cover his face. Luo Qingtong immediately saw through his mask and cursed in her heart. Why was this man everywhere? She actually met him again. Luo Qingtong was depressed. If it weren't for the fact that she couldn't reveal her identity, she really wanted to grab this man and ask him if he really had a crush on her. Why is he always around wherever I go? Damn it. Luo Qingtong cursed in her heart. However, she pretended to be angry and questioned him. Who are you? How dare you barge into my room for no reason? Do you have a hobby of peeping on others when they're bathing? Luo Qingtong's voice was old and hoarse. When she suddenly said these words, Bei Qing and the others felt a chill run down their spines. Who would want to peep on an old man bathing? This evil doctor was really old and unscrupulous. Yi Qianxian's expression didn't change at all. After being tricked by Luo Qingtong so many times in the 9 Magi Mountain, he was already somewhat immune to such tricks. He looked at the black-robed man expressionlessly. The other party's voice was indeed that of an old man. However, that woman had always been cunning. Before he could confirm the identity of the person in front of him, Yi Qianxian wouldn't easily believe a single word from her. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Yi Qianxian looked at her. With a wave of his hand, he took out the medicine bottle that Master Lu had given him. Did you concoct this medicine? When Luo Qingtong saw the medicine bottle, she immediately knew how the other party. That was Master Lu. Luo Qingtong cursed in her heart. The other party had brought her a lot of trouble. If she had known that the other party was going to give the medicine to this man, she would have poisoned him on the spot and snatched the medicine. I shouldn't have given him the antidote in a moment of happiness. I should have just poisoned him to death. Luo Qingtong gritted her teeth angrily. The Xianyuan heart medicine that she had concocted was inspired by this man's holy healing spring. Because it was very useful, she had used it to build her reputation. Who would have known that this man was in the Black Field? Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. That's right. This was indeed concocted by me. Now that things had come to this, Luo Qingtong couldn't deny it. She had already made a name for herself as the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Denying it would only increase this man's suspicions. She could only deal with it as it came. What was going on? If she had known that this man was here, she would have run further away and gone to the black field of another country. Chapter 107. Thinking of all the things she had done to this man before, Luo Qingtong made up her mind that she couldn't let the other party expose her identity. No matter what, she had to deceive him this time. Did you come to this old man to refine medicine? Unfortunately, this old man only refined medicine based on my mood. This old man's bathroom has been broken into, so my mood is very bad. Please go back. Luo Qingtong flicked her sleeves and wanted to drive him away without saying anything else. She deliberately emphasized the word, this old man, her tone full of arrogance. She hoped that Yi Qianxian would have some sense and quickly scram. However, since Yi Qianxian was suspicious of her, how could he leave just because of these two sentences? He coldly looked at Luo Qingtong and ignored her words to drive him away. He only asked, where did you get the prescription for this medicinal liquid? His gaze was fixed on Luo Qingtong's sinister Luo Sha mask under her black hood. He wanted to see if her eyes behind the mask were blind. However, this mask was specially made for Luo Qingtong, so he couldn't see her eyes and face behind the mask. Yi Qianxian wasn't sure if the other party was the person he was looking for. Prescription? Oh, this old man exchanged it with a little girl. Luo Qingtong knew that the main event was about to start. The other party was obviously suspicious of her, so he asked this question. At this time, it wasn't appropriate for her to say that she didn't know or anything else. Only by giving a mixture of truth and lies could he muddle his way out of this. This old man saved her, so she gave this old man this prescription. This old man saw that this prescription was very effective, so I refined it. What? You have a relationship with that little girl? But even so, it's impossible for you to get the prescription back. This old man obtained it through proper means. Luo Qingtong said half-truthfully. Little girl, Yi Qianxian narrowed his eyes. If the other party was really an old man, then calling that woman a little girl was indeed correct. However, Yi Qianren suddenly took a step forward at this moment. With a swish, he grabbed Luo Qingtong. That palm wind did not have the slightest bit of offensive power, and its target was only the wide black cloak on her body. He wanted to see with his own eyes whether or not the other party was that woman. Holy sh*t. Luo Qingtong had been paying attention to Yi Qianxian's movements. When she suddenly saw him grab her, she subconsciously wanted to dodge. However, she quickly realized that the other party's target was her cloak. With this man's strength, she definitely couldn't dodge. If she really dodged it, wouldn't she be walking right into a trap? Wouldn't she be telling the other party that she was the woman who had raped him while he was injured on Mount Jianghu? Holy sh*t. It was true that if he stuck his head out, he would be stabbed. If he retracted his head, he would also be stabbed. Hiding was equivalent to walking right into a trap. Even if she could dodge this attack, it didn't mean that she could dodge the next one. Luo Qingtong could sense that there were other people outside the room. They were obviously very strong. Obviously, they were this man's subordinates. If her identity was exposed, she definitely wouldn't be able to escape. She would be caught by this man at any moment. However, she didn't dodge. She had just taken a shower and didn't put on any disguise. She didn't wrap her chest and didn't draw any wrinkles on her old skin. Once he lifted her clothes, she would definitely be exposed. Why did this man come at such a good time? Couldn't he wait until she had taken a shower and put on a disguise before coming? What a scam! Seeing that Yi Qianxian's hand was getting closer and closer, Luo Qingtong's mind raced. The next second, she gritted her teeth. I'll go all out. Chapter 108. With this step, Yi Qianxian's hand, which was about to reach Luo Qingtong's body, fell to the ground. Swoosh! The man's hand pressed against her abdomen. Yi Qianxian's expression suddenly changed at this moment. This was because he felt that his palms seemed to have pressed against something hard. He looked at the place where his hand was pressing with an ugly expression. The next second, he tried to pull his hand back. But at this moment, a hand suddenly pressed down on the back of his hand through the cloak, pressing down on his hand that was about to retract. "You're so annoying. So this is what you like. You should have said so earlier. This old man also likes handsome and imposing men like young master." Luo Qingtong's voice was still as old and hoarse as before. But at this moment, there was a hint of surprise and delicateness in this old and hoarse voice. Bei Qing and the others instantly felt goosebumps all over their bodies. What on earth happened inside? Why did this evil doctor's tone suddenly change? It became so hard to explain in a few words. Just as Bei Qing and the others were rubbing their goosebumps and feeling disgusted by Luo Qingtong's voice and tone, Yi Qianxian's face, which was hidden under the dark gold mask, twitched violently. Luo Qingtong's words were really too disgusting. Especially when she used such an old and hoarse voice. With a swoosh, Yi Qianxian pulled his hand back. Luo Qingtong did not let him go and chased after him to grab his hand. "Don't. Young master, although this old man has always been the one at the top. But if it's someone like you, this old man is willing to submit to you," Luo Qingtong said delicately. She tried to hold back her laughter as she spoke. "Oh my God, this is really too fun." Luo Qingtong felt that the man opposite her was about to explode, but she was not ready to stop. This was not enough to deal with this man. She continued, "Come on. Young master. Now that this old man has just taken a bath and is naked, let's have some fun." As she spoke, she rubbed herself against Yi Qianxian. At the same time, he placed his hand on the belt of his cloak and was about to untie it. Yi Qianren pursed his lips tightly and the veins on his forehead popped out one by one. Luo Qingtong squinted at him. Seeing that he was not ready to leave, she suddenly pulled on the belt. With a swoosh, the black cloak instantly flew up. At the same time, Yi Qianxian's figure shot out without looking back. All that was left in the air was a voice so cold that it made people tremble in fear. "Disgusting. If you're not disgusted, why aren't you leaving?" Luo Qingtong rolled her eyes and went forward to pick up the cloak that she had thrown into the air and then dropped to the ground. The young girl's body was exquisite and graceful. She was only wrapped in a thin layer of gauze. Her spring light was boundless and her charm was compelling. Where was the slightest bit of disgusting feeling? Because the gauze was soaked in water, it was still dripping with water. Luo Qingtong's feet were stained with water. The young girl stepped on it barefoot. Her toes were round and smooth, and her nails were like pearls. Coupled with the fierce Rakshasa mask on her face, it was really bewitching to the extreme. If Yi Qianren was a step late or if she turned around to take a look, she would know what she had missed. But unfortunately, he was so disgusted by Luo Qingtong that he left without looking back the moment she lifted the cloak. Chapter 109. Phew. You scared me to death. Luo Qingtong heaved a long sigh of relief after successfully disgusting Yi Qianxian. This man is getting more and more difficult to deal with, she muttered in her heart. Previously at Nine Magi Mountain, she had made a casual gesture of wanting to kiss him and he had been forced to retreat. But just now, he had only left after she took off her cloak. If she had hesitated for even a moment, he would have immediately caught hold of her weakness and exposed her identity. This man had evolved too quickly. What happened to the promised innocence? Luo Qingtong secretly gritted her teeth. However, she had completely forgotten that it was because of her repeated provocations that Yi Qianren's resistance to this kind of method became stronger and stronger. This man held great power and deterred everyone. Before this, he had never met someone as devilishly charming and unrestrained as Luo Qingtong. Who knew that she would have so many tricks up her sleeves? And each time, it was different. Luo Qingtong was gloomy for a moment. Then, she thought of Yi Qianxian's expression when he had just left and was instantly delighted. It was too fun. Unfortunately, this trick could only be used once. If she did it again, that man would probably raise his hand and chop her into pieces. Sigh. As she thought about it, she peeled the banana in her hand and ate it. That's right, the hard thing that Yi Qianxian had touched just now was a banana. Luo Qingtong had originally grabbed it in her hand to eat it. In the end, Yi Qianxian had arrived in an instant and she had hurriedly put on her cloak, but this banana had always been in her hand. If not for this banana, her true identity would have definitely been exposed by that man. That was close, that was close. Luo Qingtong patted her chest and finished the banana in a few bites. She threw the peel into the fruit bowl and got up to change her disguise. After being frightened by Yi Qianxian, she was no longer in the mood to take a bath. Who knew if that man would suddenly appear again? Luo Qingtong frowned as she thought. Fortunately, she was quick-witted enough to dispel his suspicions about her identity. The other party should no longer suspect his identity as the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. However, if the other party recognized the origin of the medicinal liquid, they might send someone to follow her and find out her identity. She didn't know why this man was so persistent. Just because of that pig? Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong's face darkened. It's all that stinky pig's fault. At this moment, she was incomparably glad that she had not let the pig out of the 9-story exquisite pagoda to teach it a lesson. Otherwise, no matter how many disguises he had, he would be exposed in an instant. How did that pig provoke that man? Luo Qingtong thought to herself. She set up a few more defenses outside the room that only she could sense. Then, she raised her hand and released Little Pig from the 9-layer exquisite pagoda. How did you get involved with that man? Little Pig was completely black after being released. It was almost roasted into a suckling pig by the flames at the bottom of the 9-layer exquisite pagoda. Before it could catch its breath, Luo Qingtong picked it up and interrogated it. It was on the verge of tears. Pfff, it opened its mouth and spat out a cloud of black gas. Then, it snorted and said with a wailing pig face, "How would I know? He suddenly came and grabbed me from the Immortal Slayer Palace's inheritance palace. He interrogated me about a bunch of things that I don't know. I said I didn't know, and he wanted to kill me. Of course, I ran away." Chapter 110. Get Lost. Luo Qingtong slapped Little Pig's head and sent it rolling on the floor. If she went to ask that man, wouldn't she be telling him, "Ah, I'm the woman who made your soy sauce in the 9 Magi Mountain. The pig you want to catch is with me." It wasn't as if there was something wrong with her brain. Are you telling the truth? Luo Qingtong looked coldly at Little Pig who rolled on the floor and got up like a ball. You really don't know why he caught you? I think it's because of some ancient medicinal formula. Little Pig's beady eyes rolled around as he answered honestly. But he should ask that old man, Tian Mingzi, about this kind of thing. What's the point of asking me? I think he caught the wrong person. Little Pig said with a solemn expression. Ancient prescription. Luo Qingtong started to believe Little Pig's words. The injuries on that man's body were very strange. Luo Qingtong had seen all kinds of strange diseases in her previous life. However, this was the first time she saw such a strange condition on that man's body. The injuries on his meridians didn't seem like they were caused by someone. Moreover, there wasn't any trace of external energy in his body. However, the meridians in his body were breaking apart one after another. This was really strange. Moreover, that man didn't lack good medicine. Just the healing panacea alone was of a very high grade. However, it couldn't cure that man's injuries. It could only heal him temporarily and not cure the root cause. This was really strange. If it was said that he was looking for some ancient prescription to treat his injuries, then the credibility of this statement was still very high. Luo Qingtong thought about it and temporarily accepted Little Pig's explanation. However, she furrowed her brows. You really don't know about that ancient prescription? If I do, I'll just give it to that man. That way, he won't keep chasing me. Especially since he was so strong, Luo Qingtong also felt a pain in the ass for getting into such big trouble. If the strength of the experts in this world was like a mountain peak, then that man who could tear a divine beast apart with his bare hands was like Mount Everest. She was being chased by that man every day. No matter how handsome he was, she didn't want that. Could she still cultivate properly and become stronger in the future? No. Little Pig said resolutely with a face full of grievance. If I did, I wouldn't have to sign a contract with you to avoid him. This feeling of being in someone else's control was really annoying. Why was I so scared by that man that time? Little Pig felt depressed as he thought about it. Why? Are you feeling wronged? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and sneered at it. If it wasn't for this pig, she wouldn't be chased by that man. She still hadn't settled the matter regarding the Immortal Slayer Palace. Little Pig looked at her, and the cold, bloodthirsty smile on his lips instantly withered. Who told me to choose such a master? I thought Luo Qingtong was young and easy to control. She also had some strange abilities that could help her avoid that man's detection. That was why I made a contract with her. But the result? Humph. I'll cry if I talk too much. Little Pig squatted there with its pair of little ears. Luo Qingtong did not bother with it anymore. Since I don't have that ancient prescription, I can only avoid that man from now on. Fortunately, she had spent more than 10 years in her previous life being chased and counter-chased, so she had a lot of experience in this. In comparison, that man was just a little stronger and harder to deal with, but there was nothing else. Chapter 111. Yi Qianxian returned to the mayor's residence with a cold face. Bei Qing and Feng Yu followed behind him, not even daring to breathe loudly. Everyone could tell that Yi Qianxian was in a bad mood. They were secretly guessing what had happened in the room. However, what Luo Qingtong had said earlier made their imaginations run wild. The two of them kept thinking about it, and their minds were filled with all kinds of horrifying things. But how could their master do such a thing? But, the evil doctor's words were indeed, the two of them kept thinking about it, and their minds were in a mess. Duo Ji Min's mind was like that of Feng Yu, but he couldn't figure out what had happened in the room that could make their master, who could remain calm even if Mount Tai collapsed, so angry. Bei Qing felt like a cat was scratching at his heart. He hadn't seen the girl who had forcefully kissed his master on Nine Shaman's Mountain, but he had seen with his own eyes how angry his master was because of the evil doctor. His master's face had turned black. How scary. Ever since, he had never seen his master so angry. What was even more strange was that the evil doctor was fine. He was fine. They were outside, but they didn't even hear a scream. All they saw was their master rushing out of the room. But thinking about it, it seemed normal. Bei Qing suddenly understood why his master didn't do anything to the evil doctor. He thought about how he and the others had also followed after his master as if they were running for their lives. They didn't even want to look into the room, let alone touch the evil doctor. Bei Qing suddenly understood why his master didn't do anything to the evil doctor. They were already disgusted when they heard what had happened outside, so their master was even more disgusted. He probably didn't even want to touch the evil doctor, let alone lay his hands on him. His lips twitched as he thought about it. He had received news from the bloody battle arena earlier, so he was a little curious about this evil doctor with extraordinary medical skills. But now, this trace of curiosity had shockingly been shattered into pieces. He didn't expect the evil doctor to be such an evil doctor. An old homosexual dared to covet his master. However, Bei Qing quickly thought that, according to the evil doctor's words, his master was the one who had done something to him first. When Bei Qing thought of this, he was confused again. That's impossible. Her master would never do such a thing. But, if it was the demonic doctor who had ill intentions towards master first, how could he still be alive to say those words to master? Thinking of this, Bei Qing was horrified again. Just as his mind was in a mess and his thoughts were running wild, Yi Qianxian suddenly stopped in his tracks. Keep a close eye on that evil doctor. I want to know his every move and every whereabouts. Yi Qianxian's voice was icy cold. This was the first time, other than that woman, he had suffered such a huge loss. The veins on Yi Qianxian's forehead bulged as he recalled the audacious words the evil doctor had said to him. Even with his self-control, he couldn't help but feel the anger in his heart. If it wasn't for the fact that the evil doctor was the only clue he had that had anything to do with that woman, he definitely wouldn't have let him off so easily. He actually dared to covet her. Tut tut tut. The veins on Yi Qianxian's forehead bulged violently. The next second, he waved his hand fiercely, and the explosion destroyed half of the square outside the mayor's mansion. Then, he angrily returned to his residence. As for Luo Qingtong, she was sleeping carelessly. In fact, she had dared to flirt with Yi Qianxian because she knew he wouldn't do anything to her. Otherwise, who would play with their lives like this? It was better to expose her identity than to court death. Flirting with carnivorous animals was very risky. But it seemed to be working well. Chapter 112. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched as she looked at the hidden figures inside and outside her residence. When she woke up early in the morning, she found that there were a bunch of powerful auras of unknown origins inside and outside her residence. These people probably thought that they were hiding very well. But in fact, under Luo Qingtong's eyes, their figures were as dazzling as fireflies in the dark night. She couldn't even pretend that she didn't see them. Forget it, she'll just treat them as free bodyguards sent by someone. Luo Qingtong ignored them and went straight out the door. She was going to the slave market to buy people today. It couldn't be helped. When Yi Qianxian and the others came yesterday, the people in her residence actually didn't notice anything. Luo Qingtong felt that she couldn't take it anymore. She didn't expect those people to be able to block Yi Qianxian and the others. After all, the latter and the others were powerful. But they should at least make some movements to let her know, right? Luo Qingtong didn't want to welcome uninvited guests in the middle of bathing in the future. If this went on, her identity would be exposed sooner or later. Lord Evil Doctor. When Luo Qingtong arrived at the slave market, someone recognized her and immediately reported to the manager of the slave market. The latter walked up to him with a chuckle. This Lord Evil Doctor was now one of the people who couldn't be offended in the Blackfield sub-city. News spread quickly in the Blackfield sub-city. Now, who didn't know that Master Lu of the auction house was greedy and wanted to exchange for Lord Evil Doctor's medicine? In the end, he was almost poisoned into a skeleton. It was said that even the 100 poison antidote pill of a heavenly alchemist couldn't cure the poison of Lord Evil Doctor. After seeing Master Lu's miserable state, who would dare to provoke this Lord Evil Doctor, who had first-rate medical and poison skills? They didn't want to die. Moreover, Lord Evil Doctor's refining skills were first-rate. In the future, they would have to rely on her for many things. The manager of the slave market treated Luo Qingtong very respectfully. Lord Evil Doctor, what kind of slaves do you want to buy? We have all kinds of slaves here. We guarantee that you will be satisfied in all aspects. The manager of the slave market said politely. Yes, I want to buy a battle slave that can guard the house. I want the strongest one. Luo Qingtong was not short of money. If she wanted to buy a slave, she would naturally buy the best one. However, the strength of the slaves supplied by each Blackfield sub-city was different. Generally, they would not exceed the level of the experts of the country where the Blackfield sub-city was located. In other words, the slaves that could be purchased in this Blackfield city of the eastern border country were at most at the Marshal Marquis level. Any higher and there was nothing left. This was also one of the agreements between the Blackfield and the four great holy dynasties. The four great sacred dynasties did not interfere with the matters of the Blackfield, but at the same time, the Blackfield could not destroy the balance of power between the various countries. This was a hidden rule that both sides were secretly protecting and abiding by. All right. Lord Evil Doctor, this way please. The manager of the slave market politely led the way in front. As he walked, he smiled and said to Luo Qingtong, Lord Evil Doctor, you came at the right time this time. We just received a new batch of goods. There are several martial marquis experts among them. There is even a peak martial marquis expert among them. They will definitely satisfy you. As the group of people spoke, they stepped into the slave selection plaza. The atmosphere here was very lively. There were slaves waiting to be selected and people choosing slaves everywhere. The battle slave that Luo Qingtong wanted to choose was on the other side. Chapter 113. The so-called war slaves were slaves that had been captured during the war. These people were tyrannical in strength and their bodies were strong. After being controlled by the Blackfield, they were absolutely loyal to their masters. They were very welcomed by those who entered the Blackfield. If Luo Qingtong hadn't come at the right time, the powerhouses in this group might have already been bought. A group of figures lined up in front of Luo Qingtong. There were nearly 100 people. Most of them were great generals, and only a few were martial marquis level. Luo Qingtong looked at these people with extraordinary auras, but at this moment, their faces were numb and they had been reduced to slaves. She narrowed her eyes. These people, before becoming slaves, were all upper-class people of their own countries. These martial marquis powerhouses, which one of them wasn't the same as Grandfather Luo? They were the rulers of their respective countries. Or they were the martial arts geniuses of their respective families. But because of the war, because of the destruction of their countries, these once proud sons of heaven had been reduced to slaves, unable to escape the control of their masters for the rest of their lives. Life and death, they were all in the hands of their masters. Luo Qingtong looked at these people and inexplicably thought of the Luo family and Grandfather Luo. In the true Spill continent, the strong were respected. Countries stood in great numbers, and battles were frequent. The expansion of the territory represented the expansion of the territory, and it also represented the increase of resources. Therefore, as long as a country or an aristocratic family lost power, there would immediately be a pack of hungry wolves attacking them, tearing them apart and swallowing them into their stomachs. For so many years, it wasn't that no one had the idea of attacking the Eastern Fence country and the Luo family, but because of the engagement between Luo Qingtong and Yuan Mo, they didn't dare to act rashly. Once the Luo family and the royal family of the Tianyu Empire broke off the engagement, then there would be so many evil people who wanted to attack them. But, as long as she was here, she would never let the Luo family fall into such a situation. Whoever dared to attack the Luo family and Grandfather Luo, she would kill them. Even the Heavenly Emperor was no exception. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes as she sized up these people. Her gaze swept across the group of martial marquis experts standing at the very front. Suddenly, she met with a pair of unruly eyes. He had clearly been reduced to a slave. Even the peak martial marquis had a numb expression on his face. The man standing in the middle of the group, whose strength was only at the intermediate martial marquis level, stood perfectly straight. His pair of beautiful and somewhat feminine phoenix eyes coldly looked at Luo Qingtong. That pair of eyes contained too many things. There was unyieldingness, there was forbearance, and the most obvious was the arrogance. Luo Qingtong looked at the other party's eyes and thought of the lone wolf she had met in the Gobi Desert. His legs were broken, his teeth were ground out, and his eyes were blinded. However, he still fought with his mouth wide open until the last moment and killed the lion opposite him. Even if he had to die, he couldn't lose his dignity. A person with such eyes would definitely achieve great things in the future. Unfortunately, he was now a slave. Slaves didn't have any room for advancement. Their consciousness had already been locked down by the Blackfield's special method of control. They couldn't disobey their master's orders, and they couldn't break free from the shackles to advance. This was to prevent them from becoming too strong in the future, breaking free from the slave imprint's control and hurting their master. The person who bought the slave only wanted an obedient dog. But now, this person, even in such a situation, was unwilling to admit defeat. Interesting. Chapter 114. I want all of these people. As she spoke, she walked in front of the man and lifted his chin. What's your name? Suyu. The man looked straight at the sinister Rakshasa mask on her face without the slightest bit of fear. On that feminine and somewhat overly beautiful face, there was an untamed look that was similar to the look in his eyes. Suyu? What a nice name. I like you. From now on, you can stay by my side and serve me. As Luo Qingtong spoke, her lips moved slightly, and a faintly discernible voice drilled into the man's ears. I know your identity. My name is Evil Eye. Remember it. From now on, I am your master. Luo Qingtong used her own voice to say these two sentences. As she spoke, she cut off the chains that bound the man's hands and feet. Lord Evil Doctor. The people in the slave market were caught off guard. This Suyu was the only troublemaker in this batch of goods. He was extremely untamed. They were just about to give Luo Qingtong some advice, but they didn't expect her to take a fancy to Suyu and promote him to be her personal servant. But they hadn't handed over the control of the slaves to Lord Evil Doctor yet. What if this Suyu attacked her? The other party had already injured several trainers when he came here. He was completely out of control. A group of people quickly rushed forward to protect Luo Qingtong. At this moment, Suyu moved. Then, everyone watched in surprise as he knelt on the ground. Suyu obeys Master's orders. From now on, I am Master's man in life and Master's ghost in death. The man knelt on the ground. The untamed look in his eyes was still there, but the subservience in them was genuine. No one had expected this to happen. Suyu had submitted. He was famous for being difficult to deal with. Previously, they wanted to tell Luo Qingtong that if she bought these people back, this Suyu would be used as cannon fodder to break through enemy lines. He definitely couldn't keep it by his side. Otherwise, even with the control of the slave imprint, the other party would not be so obedient. Who would have thought that Luo Qingtong would just casually say a few words and he would submit? Everyone was surprised, but Luo Qingtong didn't care. She looked indifferently at Suyu, who was kneeling in front of her, and said, "Remember your choice. I won't accept betrayal. Suyu will not betray Master." The man kneeling on the ground said in a deep voice. "Well then, get up and stand behind me." "Yes." Suyu stood up and stood behind Luo Qingtong expressionlessly. From the beginning to the end, there was not a single superfluous word. Luo Qingtong was very satisfied. Coming to the slave market was the right choice. She didn't look at Suyu again. Instead, she picked up another slave. This time, Luo Qingtong wanted to change all the people in her residence, so she bought close to 1,000 slaves from all sorts of places. In addition to a small number of handymen, she also bought about 500 general-level slaves in addition to Suyu and the others. After buying these slaves, the money that Luo Qingtong won from the bloody arena was reduced by half. More than half of it was spent on Suyu and the other high-level slaves. The money spent by the others was not as much as the Marshal Marquis level slaves. Luo Qingtong couldn't help but sigh. Buying and selling slaves, especially high-level slaves, was really a money-burning and profiteering industry. Okay, take it off. Chapter 115. Suyu stood straight and firm in the room. His back was as straight as a javelin, full of the coldness of a soldier. Even his unbelievably beautiful face was as sharp as an unsheathed sword. Hearing Luo Qingtong's words, he was silent for a moment. Then he knelt down in front of Luo Qingtong. Swish! Suyu raised his hand to untie his hair, and at the same time, he pulled off the outer robe he was wearing. Master is perceptive. Suyu is a girl. His long black hair fluttered down like a waterfall, and Suyu's beautiful chest bulged with white cloth wrapped around it appeared in front of Luo Qingtong. The half-kneeling girl's clothes were half taken off, exposing her upper body. The lines of her muscles were extremely beautiful, firm and powerful, but not bulky. That feminine and beautiful face was full of determination and arrogance. If it weren't for the bulge in front of her chest, no one would believe that she was a girl. Master, when did you find out? Suyu's mood was complicated. She didn't know where she exposed herself. She had been disguised as a man for more than 10 years, and she had always been the face and pride of the Su family. No one had ever seen through her disguise. Even when she was sold as a slave, it was no exception. If Luo Qingtong hadn't seen through her identity, she wouldn't have surrendered so easily. She just didn't know how her master saw through her identity. You don't need to know this. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes at her. You only need to know that from now on, I am your only master. If she hadn't found out that Suyu was a girl, Luo Qingtong wouldn't have been so interested in her. A girl who wasn't willing to admit defeat in a pack of wolves. A girl who was sold as a slave, but still cleverly kept herself and her secrets. Luo Qingtong appreciated her very much. It just so happened that she lacked a personal attendant. She really liked people like Suyu who had wolf-like eyes and a persistent spirit. Because such a person wouldn't ask too much, wouldn't think too much, and wouldn't do unnecessary things. At the critical moment, she would be the sharpest knife in his hand. Usually, she was the least talkative guard. Most importantly, the other party's attire was compatible with both men and women. It was very suitable for him to stay by her side. Luo Qingtong didn't need people with high discernment around her. Suyu met the requirements of the people around her very well. You will follow me from now on. Come here. Luo Qingtong extended her hand to Suyu. The latter hesitated for a moment before stepping forward. At this moment, she felt a buzzing sound in her mind. Amidst the intense pain, it was as if something had been shattered. Master. Suyu's eyes suddenly widened. She could sense that the thing that was crushed was the control imprint in their minds under the Blackfield slave market. Master, she shattered the slave imprint in her mind. Why was that? Suyu looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. Master, don't ask why. I just don't like the life and death of my people being in the hands of others. Blackfield had said that they would hand over control, but who knew if there were any hidden hands behind their backs? The Blackfield slave trade was spread throughout the entire True Spill continent. Every country had slaves produced by the Blackfield. If these people could be controlled by the Blackfield, then it would be a big joke. Luo Qingtong didn't dare to underestimate the huge dark sanctuary. She shattered the slave imprint in Suyu's mind because she didn't want to leave behind any future troubles. She never trusted anyone, no matter the means. Chapter 116. That's enough. You'll stay by my side from now on. Luo Qingtong's voice is indifferent. I don't care what your previous identity is, or what kind of hatred and background you have. But there's only one requirement for you to stay by my side. You'll be under my command, and everything will be under my command and will. In the future, when your cultivation is strong enough, you can take revenge on your own. I won't stop you. But you're not allowed to have any selfish motives by my side. Can you do it? Luo Qingtong looks at her indifferently. The blood-red light in her eyes flickers little by little. If Suyu answers with a single word, then her end today will be very miserable. But Luo Qingtong believes that the other party won't make such a choice. This is a clever wolf-like woman. She has the unruliness of a wolf, but also the wisdom and intelligence of a wolf. Suyu's everything belongs to Master. Please rest assured, Master. Suyu kneels down. She has regained her freedom, so she should have left at all costs. But the girl in front of her gave her dignity and freedom, and broke the shackles of being a slave. Suyu isn't someone who doesn't know how to repay kindness. She can also become strong by the girl's side. She can also take revenge. She's willing to offer her life and soul. Just for the new life that the other party has given her. Very good. Luo Qingtong nods indifferently. The other party has indeed made a good choice. In the future, you'll be in charge of everything around me. After those people from the slave market are sent here, you'll organize them into teams and patrol the residence. Oh, I'll give you a map. For the time being, you'll patrol according to the route on this map. When Luo Qingtong says this, it's unknown what she's thinking, but the corners of her lips curl up. That smile is really evil and wanton. If Yi Qianxian were here at this moment, he would definitely be vigilant in an instant. Because every time this woman tricked him, she would always smile like this. Suyu quickly took over the defense of the entire residence. Luo Qingtong's authority over her is very relaxed. Suyu didn't need to consult her about almost everything. She only needed to make a decision and then report it to her. Don't use people you don't suspect. Luo Qingtong wasn't afraid of Suyu betraying her. She was confident that she could control everything when Suyu betrayed her. Only the weak would be afraid of being overridden and deceived. The strong would always control everything in their hands. Suyu was also very worthy of Luo Qingtong's trust. She took good care of her mansion. She used to be in charge of an army, and those battle slaves were arranged in an extremely orderly manner in her hands. Very soon, they began to patrol. However, those who were ordered to monitor Luo Qingtong suffered. The route drawn by Luo Qingtong was targeted at them. Ever since Suyu had arranged for people to patrol the residence, the people who came to monitor Luo Qingtong had been chased away like chickens and dogs. There was no other way. Those people were running towards where they were hiding. Originally, they thought that their identities had been exposed. But when they took a closer look, those guards were just patrolling and passing by where they were hiding. There was no other way. Those people began to change locations. This won't do. They were scared witless every time. But speaking of which, it was also strange. When they changed locations, those guards also changed their patrol routes. Every time, there would always be a few routes that coincided with where they were hiding. Gradually, those who were in charge of monitoring Luo Qingtong were made to complain incessantly, but there was nothing they could do. On this day, Luo Qingtong stood in the room, watching those people in a state of chaos in the dark. She suddenly smiled and looked at Suyu, who was standing beside her. Chapter 117. Yes. It's the heaven and earth dragon soul herb that you need. The person sent by the bloody arena said that the other party wants to see you. He said that he will only take out the heaven and earth dragon soul herb after seeing you. Suyu's voice was cold and clear. It was very pleasant to listen to. Coupled with his firm and indifferent expression at the moment, he really looked like a handsome young master. He was beautiful, feminine, and heroic. Looking at him made people want to touch him. Unfortunately, this handsome and indifferent man was a woman. Luo Qingtong looked at him and shook her head. If this was known by others, it would break the hearts of many young girls. She suddenly thought of something and asked, Suyu, have any girls pursued you before? Suyu's voice suddenly stopped. Then he helplessly raised his head and said to Luo Qingtong, Master, I'm talking business with you. So, can't you be a bit more serious? Suyu also didn't understand his master. He thought that the other party's character was evil and cold, and would be very difficult to serve. But in fact, when he really got along with her, Suyu realized that Luo Qingtong's temperament was very changeable. Although she did things her own way, it was very easy to get along with her. In just a few days, the master and servant could already make some harmless jokes. Okay. Luo Qingtong folded her fingers and tapped them. The other party wants to see me, right? Tell the people of the bloody arena that I will go there. Heaven and Earth Dragon Soul Herb. It was one of the antidote herbs that Luo Qingtong needed. The antidote herbs she needed were mixed in the list she gave to the bloody arena. If it was other herbs, Luo Qingtong would refuse. But since it was this herb, Luo Qingtong had to go there in person. After all, this was the first herb she found that could detoxify the poison in her eyes. Maybe she could find other herbs through the other party. To be honest, after coming to the Black Field, Luo Qingtong knew how precious the antidote herbs she was looking for were. In the whole Black Field, there were so many cities, but she still couldn't find the antidote herbs she needed for so long. She had collected a lot of other herbs. But for Luo Qingtong, those were just tricks. They were useless. The antidote in the antidote couldn't be taken out by ordinary people. Ordinary antidotes and antidotes were very difficult to detoxify. However, the herbs used in the poison that she was afflicted with were incomparably precious. There was someone behind the royal family of Jianghu. Interesting. He thought that it was just a simple plot by a concubine's daughter who was jealous of the first wife's daughter. It would be enough if the royal family of Jianghu was involved. The person who took out the ultimate medicine and ultimate poison must have a very honorable status. Otherwise, they wouldn't have used so many precious medicinal ingredients on top of the ultimate medicine and ultimate poison. But it didn't matter. She had plenty of time. And one by one. Let's go. Luo Qingtong put on her cloak and ferocious Rakshasa mask and went out. Since she subdued Suyu, Luo Qingtong was a lot more relaxed. Occasionally, she would show her real face in the room to let her skin breathe. Anyway, if someone broke in, according to Luo Qingtong's arrangement, there would be a warning. Luo Qingtong had enough time to react. Yes. Suyu responded and followed her with a straight posture. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.